I just wanted to say, like, to me, raising daughters when I have zero confidence is freaking hard. I'm trying to raise daughters who have confidence, who believe they're beautiful, who know they're smart, who, want to rock whatever outfit they want and have confidence to go out the house. And anxiety doesn't keep them in the fucking house.
My mom essayed
As you can read in the caption above, we're a family of 6 going on 7 living in a 1-bedroom apartment. As the kids grow older, that means we constantly have to adapt our environment to give them more means for privacy and extra space.
So let me get this straight. You also think that it's okay to let your kids sleep right next to the kitchen? This is a family of 5 living in a 1-bedroom apartment. And yes, those are bunk beds behind me. And I don't know what's worse, having your kids sleeping next to the kitchen or making fun of your own kids for sleeping next to the kitchen.
Stephanie, you was a mother, you sicken me. And Drew, how are you a deadbeat to children that live with you? Now tell me if I'm wrong, but Deshaun gets a lazy, half-assed, bare minimum, barely of a birthday. And Miss Princess of the Castle gets all these beautiful decorations and pre-ordered gifts.
Stop. Don't do that while I'm here. Don't.
So Stephanie and Drew from the Resilient Jenkins have let something slip through their videos once again. And this time it is devastating because it is about their daughter and some expressions and emotions that she is writing down on a little notepad on their other daughter's birthday.
Hi, good morning. I actually don't want to know anything else about the fucking Resilient Jenkins unless it's coming from the children. This has actually gone from you guys glamorizing poverty to these people are sinisterly, maliciously, and very much so in your face assaulting those fucking kids.
So about 8 months ago, I made a video on the Resilient Jenkins, and if you saw it, you remember it was more of a first-time reaction. I didn't know much about them. I just stumbled across their page and gave my honest thoughts based on what I saw. But this one is different. This isn't a reaction, this is a deep dive. I have been working with this story for a while now, digging through videos, posts, Reddit threads, interviews, all of it. And honestly, researching for this case is very overwhelming because there's just a lot of information out there, but I've tried my best and I think that I am finally ready to talk about them properly. So who are the Resilient Jenkins? So the Resilient Jenkins, they're a family that basically went viral on TikTok by sharing their struggles. So basically they have this life in a 1-bedroom apartment, raising a bunch of kids in really tough conditions, trying to stay afloat while the whole world watched. The family is made up of Stephanie Jenkins, her partner Drew Jenkins, and their kids, some from past relationships and some that they had together. The two of them apparently met, both already parents but going through it. They moved in together around 3 years ago, already bringing 3 kids into the mix, and then they kept growing the family from there, even though money was tight and things weren't exactly stable. Online, Stephanie built this narrative around them being resilient, like no matter what life threw at them, they kept pushing.
We finally did it, y'all. After 2 years, we got our first viral video. Woohoo! We want to start off by saying thank you and welcome to our new followers. We appreciate any and all support we receive from everybody. Now let's bounce back to that viral video for a second, because if you've seen it, you may know there is some comments that are a little bit nasty. But this was something both myself and Drew were highly prepared for. In fact, we had both assumed that once a video went viral, it would be because of some hateful comments. Sadly, hate spreads a lot faster than love in this world. But if it's gonna spread our content, then go ahead and keep on hating. The fact is, nobody's gonna be harder on a parent than they are on themselves. But Drew and I make every attempt to put our kiddos first, and that's seen through our content if you're a true follower. A little backstory for you. Drew and I met online during COVID, and we weren't able to meet in person quite as soon as we wanted to. We spoke for quite some time online, and then finally got to meet in person. Honestly, it was an instant connection. We spent some time together, but we wanted the kids to meet. And at the time, Drew had his son, and I had my 2 daughters. When they met, it was an instant connection as well. Best believe we left it in their hands to decide if they wanted to call us mom and dad, and they decided on their own, yes, that is my daddy, that is my mommy. You see, to some, it doesn't need to be a blood connection, there's a spiritual connection too. Again, that's something we were prepared for. As a multicultural family, we were prepared to receive some unnecessary hate, and in some cases, we already have. Our family has fought through the thick and thin together, but in every way, we're like any other family. Our kids have an unbreakable bond, and Drew and I have a spiritual connection like nothing I've ever experienced. I absolutely love being this man's wifey and being these kids' mama. Drew shows us every day by his hard work and his constant ability to keep high spirits for his family that he loves us more than anything. Let's say thank you again for the new followers, and thank you for getting to know us. We'll see y'all in the next video.
Her TikTok is full of vlogs showing their day-to-day lives, cramped rooms, creative ways to stretch a meal, or rant about surviving on nothing. And for a while, people felt for them because you're seeing a family trying to make it through and you want to root for them. But that sympathy did not last, and as their following grew, more and more things just started to come to light. People started questioning the way they were living, the choices they were making, and most of all, the way they were putting it all online. And I mean everything. There were videos about lice infestations, not having heat, begging for help in one clip, and filming a light-hearted skit the next.
Breaking trash news, the resilient Jenkins crew has come out and said their house is infested with lice and bugs. In fact, they've had lice for months. And the mother, Stephanie, says that the lice combs are ruining her hair. And what about those fleas? Well, they have 2 cats who have fleas, meaning they're not taking the care of the cats either. And the best part is the kids sleep on the floor with the cats where the fleas are.
The comment sections, they went fast from these supportive people or crowd to being suspicious real fast. By the end of 2024, Stephanie was pregnant again, and that meant that 6 people, soon to be 7, in one bedroom flat were staying in this, and they were still vlogging, they were still asking for support, they were still pushing the resilient angle. But behind that label were a lot of red flags. People were accusing them of dry begging, basically hinting for money without directly asking, and others were concerned about the kids, wondering if they were being dragged into all of this for views. And then it snowballed. They got evicted, they ended up in a hotel, their 4 cats was abandoned, which we'll get to, and they were just left like that. And on top of all that, more disturbing information started coming out. Drew had allegedly been dodging child support for his older son, and he was tied up in this custody battle. Then there was Stephanie's legal husband, yeah, not Drew, who is actually in prison for SA. That part alone just made people question everything that they've been seeing on TikTok. So that being said, this video isn't just about listening to the scandal, it's about the full story, the whole picture. This is like a deep dive documentary that I have decided to put everything in place. It's about how a family went from being seen as underdogs to becoming one of TikTok's most controversial families. We are going to get into their living conditions, the emotional manipulations, the decision that made people pull back their support, and how Stephanie's own trauma might be playing a role in all of this. We're also going to talk about what it says about family vlogging in general, and how quick the internet is to consume other people's pain, especially when kids are involved. This isn't drama or gossip. This is what happens when parenting, poverty, and social media mix in the worst possible way, and there is nobody to step in to stop it, and those who have tried to step in have been given the middle finger. So this is just a heads up before we get into this story. Trigger warning: this story talks about some really heavy stuff. There is mentions of child neglect, sexual assault, and a bunch of other things that might be upsetting. So if that's something that you're not in the headspace for right now, feel free to skip this one. I have a ton of other videos that you can go and watch. But before I go on, let me introduce myself. Hi guys, my name is Jewel, and on this channel I do deep dives, documentary. Literally I speak about whatever I want to speak about, whether trending or not. Give deep dives. So if you want to see me next time, kindly subscribe, share this video if you care. And that being said, let's get straight into this video. So now let's speak about the living conditions of the Jenkins, and here I'm going to speak about 6 people in a 1-bedroom apartment. So the first thing that caught everyone's eye was how they were living. 6 people, 2 adults and 4 kids, all squeezed into a 1-bedroom flat, and they were in there for 3 years. That wasn't a short-term thing, that was just how they lived. Stephanie showed everything on TikTok, and not in a passing way. She documented it, and there is this one video from October 2024 that went viral, and it had over 8 million views, where she shows how every night they would turn the living room and kitchen into one big shared bedroom. They'll push the table aside, they will clear out toys, then they'll roll out air mattresses and foam pads so that the kids could sleep on the floor in the living room.
Welcome back to another evening with the resilient Jenkins, TikTok's current favorite family to hate on. It's giving Sunday vibes. I started off by making dinner, which I just posted a full dinner recipe video. While dinner was cooking, I got the kids area all straightened up, vacuum with my handy dandy hoe, and I take this rug outside and shake it off almost every day. The girls wanted to see if Dad could do the Pennywise dance. Definitely made their night. Look at their faces. I don't know where my man gets this energy sometimes, but I'm ever so grateful he has it for our children. Then Drew took a second to take a look at a bump that's been bothering one of our daughters on her heel. I made my 3 older kids their plate, and then I broke some chicken up for my toddler, who ended up not even being interested. Generally, he has a good appetite, but he's eaten a lot throughout the day, and he just kind of wasn't feeling it. My older son asked me if I could trim up his hair. I'm gonna say right now, when it's come to my older son, I will always respect the wishes of him and his father when it comes to his hair. I ask my son every couple of months if he's ready to grow his hair out or if he still wants another trim. Just keep saying he's not quite ready to grow it out. In fact, this time he told me maybe I'll switch it up when I'm 12. I always like to make sure my kids get showers on Sunday night so they have a nice fresh start for Monday. Now I don't know if this was fairly obvious, but not only do we have 1 bedroom, we also have 1 bathroom. So when it comes to shower time, we have to time it out right so everybody gets a chance to go. My daughter's curls were popping today, so I didn't do braids in her hair. I just went ahead and set her curls for the morning and then braided my older daughter's hair. After everybody was through with brushing their teeth, we did some reading and our nightly prayers.
Meanwhile, she and Drew, they had the actual bedroom, and it was a real bed. 2 TVs, LED lights, and a PS5. Like, it wasn't a basic room. They had it set up like a chill zone. And that's why the internet just turned on them a bit, because if your kids are sleeping on the floor next to the fridge every night, why do you have a PlayStation? She even posted a video of Drew just chilling and playing video games with the kids, saying that the bedroom was their safe zone, and how it reminded her of when she would go into her parents' room for comfort. But people weren't buying it, not when the kids didn't even have like proper beds. People were commenting like, why do you have like a $600 console and neon lights but your kids are on full mat? And that's a fair question. And the thing is that they didn't even get like proper beds until after the videos went viral, because strangers online had to donate to them. That was really what set people off. Like, this wasn't just about being broke, this was about choices, because if you have enough money for a whole entertainment setup but the kids are sleeping on the damn kitchen floor, priorities are not making sense. Then on top of all of that, she announced that she was pregnant again. So 5 kids in a 1-bedroom flat. Yeah, got it. People were like, how is that even a conversation right now? Why keep bringing kids into a setup that is already stretched to the limit? Stephanie tried to explain it on live. She said that they used to have bunk beds but they broke and they couldn't afford to replace them. But if you're buying consoles and flat screens, why can't you replace basic furniture? Obviously, it did not add up. The internet does not forget, and people, they started clocking every detail. She showed the kids area too, which was just like a corner of the living room that was also the dining room and the kitchen. And this was their whole space. There was no doors, no privacy, no boundaries. And these were not like toddlers. There were kids that were getting older, that were growing, that were trying to exist in a space where everyone is on top of each other 24/7. It was not only a very tight space, it was also like a very suffocating space, because that's what the kitchen is, and that's where the 4 of them or the 5 of them were sleeping. And Stephanie and Drew, they had their own room. Because even the bathroom too had issues. Stephanie said that the tub did not drain properly, so even basic stuffs like bath was a whole struggle.
And even clean the screen to show you all the color of the water that comes back up the drain in the middle of the night. You see that shit? You see it?
Hi guys, this is our family of 6, soon to be 7, in a 1-bedroom apartment. First of all,
What is selfish is taking a family's poverty position and making it your profit.
Now, what's truly selfish is you choosing to continue to have children that you cannot afford to safely house or raise. Despite their best interests and their health, you want them, and then you exploit them by making it a mommy vlog. So let's dive into the mommy vlogger who's going viral right now under the name Resilient Jenkins, family of 6 going on 7, who's all living in a 1-bedroom apartment. The whole situation seems to just keep getting worse. We even talked about it and dove into the statistics last year that there is a healthy limit of children that any family on any income can have, let alone if you can't afford to properly house them or even give them beds. So let's walk through everything I've found so far and then talk about it. So this woman is a stay-at-home mom, and originally she had 2 girls of her own. And then she met the dad who does gig work like DoorDash and Uber driving, and he had a son. They moved in together and they got married. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with that. They have 3 kids. They can't afford more than a 1-bedroom apartment. You gotta do what you gotta do sometimes. That would have been fine if they just gave those kids the bedroom and they slept in the living room, but it gets worse. They decided that despite the fact that they can't afford a home that's large enough for everyone, they wanted to, on purpose, continue to have children. And she's also made it very clear this whole time, her goal has been to like go viral and turn this all into a mommy vlog situation that they can make money off of to continue having kids past this point. And all this thought process proves to me already that you're not actually really thinking about these kids and what's in their best interest. You yourself, for your own reasons, just want to keep having children. Like myself, for example, I am a single woman who cannot afford a 1-bedroom apartment. I live in a studio, and if I never make it out of the studio, I will not be having children because this is not an environment to be raising children in. Now, accidents happen, and that's a different story entirely sometimes. But if I ever have children, I will be planning that around what is best for those children. Now, it does get even worse because all of the children are made to sleep in this living room area, and they all have like foam mattresses, not really real beds. The only real bed is the bed that the parents sleep on, and they have decided for themselves to take the 1-bedroom. Which leaves all of the kids sharing this area out here right next to the door that leads into the parking lot. Can you imagine how that might also be a bit dangerous? How it might be safer for all the kids to go into that bedroom and the parents to at least be kind of like blocking the exit to the door? On top of that, they've made it known that a large portion of this area has become storage for the family, of course, because it's a 1-bedroom. Where are you going to store all of this stuff? So now the kids' room, if you want to even call it that, has become exponentially smaller. Again, it would just make more sense to me to have the parents sleep out in this room, but they are not thinking in the best interest of the children. And all this became even more clear to me when I saw her saying things kind of like, oh, we finally did it, we went viral, like, but I always kind of knew it would be for like hate and awful things. Now, ma'am, if you think that your lifestyle is perfectly fine, why would you just assume that everyone on the internet would be upset about it someday? Are you acknowledging that perhaps there's a problem with you willingly and purposefully bringing children into this situation? And I also want to be super clear because I feel like this gets lost in some of my videos. I have no problems with vloggers who become mommies. The issue is mommy vloggers, such as this instance where they just start purposefully having kids to continue to make money.
And look, she tried to keep things positive. She was always posting with #resilience, talking about how she was grateful to even have a roof, showing little hacks like turning closets into playrooms or stacking bins to save space. But a lot of people were not seeing creativity, they were seeing desperation, and more importantly, they were seeing kids who deserved better. By the time the video of the kids sleeping on the kitchen floor blew up, the whole internet, they were watching, and it wasn't just sympathy anymore. The comment section, they just turned into like a war zone. Some people were like they're doing what they can with what they have, while others were not having it at all. They were calling it like straight up neglect. And honestly, both sides, they had a point. You could feel the tension, but in the middle of that noise, it was the kids like all carrying the weight. And these kids, they carried the weight every single time. I remember when I first posted about this family, someone came at me with, sorry, not everyone can afford to post their rich and bougie lifestyle. You are just privileged. You don't know what it's like to struggle. And I replied, no one is saying that she can't post her content, but let's be real. Her partner isn't working, which we'll get to. They keep having kids they can't provide for, and the children are being filmed through all of it. That's not just sharing your life. That's literally turning your kids' struggle into content, and that is exploitation. And that's the part that people just keep trying to dance around, because it's not just poverty, it's the fact that she knows exactly what she's doing and she's doing it anyway. So now let's speak about dry begging and social media exploitation, because the thing that gets me the most about this whole Jenkins situation is how they turned their struggles into content, and not like we are showing our lives kind of content. I mean, every single bad thing that happened to them somehow ends up online and is usually followed by some kind of donation or wish list being filled. So basically, there is this thing called dry begging. So dry begging is basically when you're not outrightly asking people for money, but you're dropping so many hints so that they can feel bad and offer help anyway. And that's what Stephanie was doing constantly. She would post a video crying or showing that the kids are eating crackers for dinner, or she would pan the camera around like an empty fridge, and like clockwork, people would just start sending money. They'll start sending food, or start sending stuff from Amazon, and she never just had to to say, please help me, because she knew exactly how to get people to jump in without asking. When it comes to children, people are very vulnerable and they always like to help people who have children and cannot afford it. So obviously, the fact that she was living in this condition with children and pets made people even offer without her even outrightly asking.
Can we talk about the humbling conversations you start to have with your kids as they develop and age into more adult-like conversations? Because yesterday my kid came up to me and said, Mom, how come adults don't celebrate their birthdays? And I told her it's not so much that we don't celebrate our birthdays, it's the fact that these last few years your dad and I have spent any extra means we have on your guys' birthdays. All of our birthdays are back to back, and we like to save the funds that we have available for your guys' birthdays, which means that for Mommy and Daddy there's not much left over. And my kids literally started tearing up. They talked amongst themselves for a minute and they were like, can you believe that Mom and Dad really don't celebrate their birthday because they want to put our birthdays first? Further into the day, I had a conversation with actually my same daughter, and she told me what she wants to be for Halloween. She said she wanted to be Pennywise, and I told her we're doing everything we can to achieve trying to get you guys costumes, but at this rate, Halloween's kind of looking like we're going to have to piece together what we have at home and make it work. And honestly, her whole demeanor just sunk. She was like, I get that, Mom, and I'll do what I have to, but I was really hoping to be Pennywise this year. And it really just got me thinking, how many situations do kids in poverty are they not able to express themselves because of financial situations? How often is a kid in poverty told, well, that's not your opportunity just simply because we don't have the means? Sometimes I feel like the only kids who get a spotlight are the kids who can afford, whose parents can afford to put one on them. And hell, we're just trying to keep the lights on in the damn house. I, for one, believe that financial situations should never affect how a child develops and their growth and their opportunities. But that's just not how it works. It's not how it works. But I can tell you one thing. When God blesses us, because I truly believe He's going to, we will be the family that reaches out and tries to bless as many children as we possibly can. Because seeing our kids go through this and how it's affecting their development, how it's affecting their self-confidence, and just how they're growing up to express themselves in general, it's heartbreaking. I can't imagine not doing everything I can for my own kids first, but then any kid I see going through that as well.
The bunk bed thing is the one that really stuck, because the kids were sleeping on the floor for months and they had just pads on the ground in the kitchen and the living room. So like I said, she said that the beds, they broke. That's why the children are staying on the floor, whatever. And obviously she had this Amazon wish list and people bought beds for the children. Strangers online, they were the ones to like buy the beds, buy them new beds. Not her, not Drew, people from TikTok and Reddit, which is honestly wild. And then people started looking at their Amazon wish list and realizing that something wasn't right. There was like a $55 vacuum just for keyboards or like a gaming gear. Then there was a $37 vacuum for the house. Like, what are your priorities? You're telling us that you cannot afford beds, but you have money for tech cleaning tools.
Okay, so by now we've probably already heard or seen videos of the family of 6 going on 7, currently living in a 1-bedroom apartment. Everyone makes valid points, but I just want to talk about their wish list for a second. A compressed air duster for $59. Girl, aren't the cans like really cheap at Walmart? Like, why do you need a $59 air compressor? Foaming, I know this is, it kind of gives you an insight on the kind of people we're dealing with. Instead of thinking about the kids and, you know, buying stuff, necessities, or putting necessities on their wish list, they have shit on here like chemical guys, cleaning supplies, probably to fund their business. See, me personally as a parent, I'm 100% thinking about my kids all the time. Like, all these clothes, valid, okay? The kids needed new clothes because apparently their clothes are moldy. Toys, Miss Ma'am, we've seen your house. You do not need new toys like this. Your daughter's dolls do not need a whole fucking wardrobe. Agree. But you could have got them secondhand. A ring light, be so for real, ma'am. Be so for real. Who is buying this crap? You guys are enabling these people. Obviously, they needed a bunk bed. They could get... Oh my god, this football book? Okay, I get it's for the kids, but you could also take your ass to the library, take your kids to the library. It's free. Maybe $5 at most to get a library card, but it's free. And then you could just return it instead of keeping, you know, hoarding more stuff. Cleaning crevice device? No, absolutely not. We are not funding your lazy ass. And I don't know if you heard their live, but he says fuck a W-2, so we know damn well he doesn't want to work. So why are we giving into this? A steam cleaner? Okay, valid. She got to clean her house. She is crusty, musty, dusty. Those poor children are living in filth. Again, why are we buying stuff for them? A vacuum cleaner? Yeah, she needed one. She needs a better one probably, because she needs one that like specializes in pets and stuff, but yeah. Oh, but the fucking air duster, $59, but she wants to put a cheap ass vacuum up there. Priorities, Miss Mom. Hello. And then again with the detailing stuff, be so for real.
Alright, let's talk about this shit on their Amazon list. They mostly have everything, but $20 brush, almost $30 game, a ring light, a $30 ring light. That was necessary, apparently. I don't know. Y'all, $22 light bulbs. What the hell? I can't. And y'all bought it. All these kitchen utensils, makeup removers, silicone pads. This is $80 pillows. $80 pillows? For real? Why do they need a $40 shower head? Why? What? Are you kidding me? Purses, Brita water filters, a ball pit. Where are you gonna put that? Tell me that.
And then they had the GoFundMe, and the GoFundMe said that it was for rent or for a better place to live. And people did donate, but months went by and nothing changed. Same apartment, same issues, same content. And you start thinking, where did all that money go? Because it clearly wasn't going into fixing the actual problems that you said you had. And here's the thing that really had people really pissed off, because it wasn't just the money stuff, it was the way that she used the kids. They were in every video, they were crying, they were looking sad, they were reacting to like grown-up stress. Like, why are you telling your kids that you can't pay rent and you're filming their reaction for TikTok? Why is your child's discomfort the hook for your content?
Look when I smile. Look how much sad frown face I have to push. My smile has to take so much work.
It got to a point where people were just like, yeah, this is child exploitation, straight up. She's putting her kids in distressing situation and then broadcasting it so that people will feel bad enough to send money. That is obviously not how you would want to parent your children. You're just monetizing your child's life. I saw someone already say that she's not going to stop exploiting her kids because it's literally her income. And honestly, they weren't wrong, especially with Drew not working. Like, the worse things looked, the better the views did. Even in my last video, I said that even if she has all the money in the world, she's still going to live like a poor person, because again, this is how she gets her money. Is this how she's going to live for the rest of her life? Because even those that do not like her content, they are going to help the algorithm. And she knows that even bad attention is still attention. She doesn't care if people are dragging her as long as they are watching. And that's how it started to feel. Every video was bait. You either felt bad and donated, or you got mad and shared it. And either way, she got paid. She's tried to defend herself by saying stuff like, the kids love being in the videos, or they'll be glad to have these memories when they're older. She even said that putting them online is the same as taking them to the park. And I'm sorry, that's not the same thing. A park isn't permanent. TikTok is.
My kids want to be a part of my videos. They feel like they're on TV. They feel like little celebrities. I mean, I know where they're at when they leave this house. And I damn sure make sure that they're safe. And I do get that people do that creepy stuff where they like pinpoint your location based on your video. But like, who's seeking me out? Who's seeking me and my family out? I get 200, 300 views if I'm lucky. If this is going to be how it continues to be, we're going to make money through social media, or that's just going to be like the livelihood. It's entertainment, which that's how America's always been. That's how the world is. I feel like I'm doing my kids a disservice by not giving them a good start to that. This is their life growing up. And then as they grow up, they're going to want to start their own social medias. And I think it's going to be awesome to have their perspective too. And they'll be like, this is me all grown up. Now I'm going to come prank my mom and take the video on that perspective. I think it's going to be cool. Okay, you're hiding your kid while they're at home. You're hiding their private life. You don't post your kid on social media. Do you take them out of the house? There's cameras everywhere. There's public, there's people, there's no hiding our children in today's world. There just isn't. I mean, yes, you keep them safe, but my kids are safe. I ain't worried about their safety. Ain't no one coming up in that door. And I damn sure make sure that they're safe.
Reminds me of, what's that girl's name? Reminds me of Daniel Cohn's mom, when people are like, you're really literally exploiting your child online and your child is wearing suggestive clothing, and she was like, what's the difference between a child wearing bikini in a swimming pool or on the beach and on TikTok?
Like, you could go to the beach, you could go to the water park, and there's gonna be a person who thinks like that. You know, that's watching people. Look. So how is it any different from a kid wearing a bikini online to a kid wearing a bikini at the water park? You don't know who's around you.
It's true.
You know, you just have to.
Scary.
It is, but you have to be safe with your children out in public. If she's at the house and she wants to wear a bikini in her backyard and take a picture, she's at the house. There's nobody here, and she might post it to the internet. But those men or those women, because women are too, they can't be next to her. They can't touch her. They can't see her. You know?
How does that make you feel as a mom and like watching your daughter online? How do you protect her? How does that make you feel?
Look, someone said, I'm a bus. I'm getting my nut to you, LOL.
Like, you sound dumb when you say that. I'm so sorry, but literally, because the park is not permanent, TikTok is, and these kids, they cannot consent to this. They don't understand what it means to have their faces, their emotions, their worst moments on the internet forever. We will speak about the exploitation of children on social media later on in this video, but before that, I would love to ask, how do we blur the lines between just posting your child on social media when they accomplish something and posting them often for views and to bump up your channel? Also, what's the difference between someone like Beyonce posting Blue Ivy on social media and the resilient Jenkins family who regularly post their children across platforms, often while highlighting their financial struggles? I watched Swoop's video on the resilient Jenkins and she asks this question too, so I'm here to like put my 2 cents and what I think. So let's talk about where the line really is, because just posting your kid because you're proud and posting them consistently or constantly because you know that it would boost your engagement, kind of, they are two different things, because on the surface both can look like the same, right? You see a parent sharing a video of their child online, which is cute and which is harmless, but it's always not that simple, yeah, because like we live in a time where sharing moments online has been normalized. Your kid gets a certificate, you post, your baby says something funny, you post, and there is nothing inherently wrong with that. It's natural to want to share those moments, but it starts to get weird when those moments aren't spontaneous anymore. When it's not, oh, this was cute, let me post it, and more like, I need content, so let me film my child today doing something. And that's when it stops being personal and it starts becoming production. And then you have people asking, well, what's the difference between Beyonce posting Blue Ivy and families like the Jenkins posting their kids? And honestly, that's a fair question. On paper, it might seem like the same thing, but context is everything. Take Beyonce and Blue Ivy on tour, for example. Blue Ivy, she performed, she danced, and she was part of the show, but it was clear that she was prepared for this show. That wasn't Beyonce sticking a camera in her daughter's face while she cried over something traumatic. That was a rehearsed, choreographed performance, and you could tell that it was done on Blue's terms. She had coaching, she had support, and more importantly, she had choice, because remember, Tina said that when people were laughing at her, she was like, no, I want to dance. And she had the choice. She wasn't just tossed on the stage for clout. She wasn't being used to make people feel sorry for Beyonce or to get views on TikTok, because Beyonce can choose to be the only dancer on the stage and people are going to buy the 5K ticket, okay? The $5,000 ticket. Plus, let's be honest, Beyonce, she barely posts Blue. We've seen more of that girl in the last year than we did in the entire first 5 years of her life. Even with all the fame, Beyonce has kept her kids off the internet for as long as possible. And when she does share them, it's in celebration and it is controlled, but she shares them rarely and she never shares them when they are distressed. Now compare that to what Jenkins are doing. The kids, they're being filmed all the time, not just when something happy happens. We're talking about them being filmed when they sleep, when they are sick, when they cry, when they have lights, when they are told that the lights might get cut off. That's not an occasional proud parent moment. That's a full-on content strategy. And look, this is not about about poor versus rich. This is about boundaries, because once your child becomes the reason that people are watching and not part of the story but the story, you have crossed into a different territory, especially when the views and the donations and the wish list items just start rolling in every time that your child is visibly upset or uncomfortable on camera. Honestly, that is not responsible parenting, honestly, because you're monetizing the emotion of your child and you're putting that on the internet, and the internet eats it up. The wildest part is that the kids don't even know what is going on. They're not old enough to understand what a following is, or that their worst moments are being stitched and reposted by strangers. They cannot consent to that. These children, they're not protected. This isn't Blue Ivy with stylists or like lawyers or like people who are watching over them. These are kids in a one-bedroom apartment being filmed through every hardship. So yeah, it's not the same. Beyonce is giving us little glimpses of Blue Ivy. It's not the same as Stephanie Jenkins, like pointing the camera at her child while they are crying and then she's calling it real life. One is parenting in the spotlight, the other is using the spotlight to survive and dragging the kids into making it work. And that's the part that we have to talk about, because this whole family content wave is getting out of hand and we are normalizing it. We are letting it slide. But if your kids are paying the price for your platform, if they're the ones getting filmed every time that things fall apart, then you're not just sharing, you are selling. You're selling your child's soul. And the thing is, your children, they did not agree for this to be a sale. So that being said, even her own family wasn't with her on this. Her mom came out and said something publicly, which we'll get into later on in this video. People online had already been calling CPS multiple times, and still nothing changed. And by the end of 2024, the follower count was wild, like tens of thousands. People were still donating, still watching, but it wasn't just fans anymore. It turned into this whole crowd of people who were watching to catch the next lie. Like, I would call them digital watchdogs. Stephanie would say that Drew couldn't work because of his health, and then someone would dig up a live stream of him playing video games for hours straight.
I'll let you guys know why I can't get a job, or don't. It's not that I don't. It's that I don't want to. I don't like people telling me what to do. I don't like being somewhere I don't want to be for an extended period of time. And people be having attitudes. Customers be having attitudes, and I don't like to deal with it. So I'll just walk out. I will not show up the next day.
She will say that people were bullying her because she was poor, and then someone else will pull up clips of her allegedly driving high or showing the kids with lies that had already been left untreated for way too long.
Now you listen here, you walking pile of panic attack. You're gonna inhale, exhale your way through this bullshit if it's the last thing you do. Your thoughts aren't real, your mind hates you, but you're...
And honestly, with the case with Stephanie Jenkins, it's become like a cycle, because post a video, people will react, donations come in, someone calls her out, she defends herself or she doubles down, then she posts again, rinse and repeat. And through all of that, the kids are still being filmed, still in the middle of it. No say, no break, no protection. They're just there. They're living in a show that they did not even sign up for. At some point, it stopped being sad and it stopped being one of those damn, I really do feel bad for them kind of things, and it just started being something that is very, very disturbing, because that wasn't just like survival. That's like her being very, very calculated. Yeah, this whole setup, how the struggles are being filmed, the timing of the posts, the tears, the dry begging, the kids being used as emotional triggers, in my own opinion, is all being done on purpose. She knew what she was doing, or she knows what she's doing, and she would keep doing it because, again, it's what is giving her money.
Stephanie, it's the begging. It's the dry begging. And then don't bring my God into your poverty situation. You stop doing that, because you're asking for handouts. Now, all of these is old videos and old dry begging. But I'm watching your current videos. Have you purchased anything new or gently used for the children on your own, with your own means, besides stuff that you get at the grocery store on the EBT? Oh, maybe the little birthday presents, I guess. But you know them kids need clothes and shoes and sometimes coming. You know those things. So quit trying to like drop hints. So some supporters, if that's what they choose to do, purchase things for your kids, that's wonderful. But how long is that going to last? I feel sorry for the two. I feel sorry for you and your mindset. There is nothing wrong with working. You talking about taking 10 years off your life. I'm going through these videos and these pictures, and you have aged 10 plus years just on how you're living now.
So that being said, let's speak about eviction and homelessness. By early 2025, things fell apart completely. They were already barely holding on in that one-bedroom apartment, and eventually the rent caught up to them. The landlord started eviction proceedings, and instead of figuring things out or finding another place in time, they just waited. Like, they literally started packing the day before they had to leave. They did not have any plan, no backup, nothing. They were just going with the flow. And honestly, I'm like a last minute packer too. Like, I'm someone who procrastinates a lot. Even when I was leaving my former place, I started packing like the week before I was leaving, like literally like 2 days before I was meant to leave where I was staying before. I get it, but this is a family of how many? And you have so many children. Like, it's something you have to pack, not the day before. They didn't find anywhere to go, so they ended up in a cheap motel. All of them, like the 7 of them, and a whole newborn is also part of this 7. Let me, in case you guys forgot that she was pregnant, I said it earlier. So all of these people in one room. Stephanie posted a TikTok around then, like crying, saying that they've been evicted and basically confirming that they had nowhere else to go. And just like that, the motel room became the new set. Same setup, but just different walls.
So the resilient Jenkins were evicted from their apartment today and just started packing yesterday. Stephanie posted in her new update video that they couldn't find anywhere to go and that they will be staying in a hotel and putting everything in storage units. She also addressed the fact that her mother apparently has been offering for she and the children to come stay with her, but won't allow Drew there. And Stephanie says absolutely not. Sounds like she and her mom don't have a good relationship. I don't know why you knew that you were being evicted but decided to pack the day before. And why is that man not helping pack this apartment? Stephanie is literally like, what, 8 weeks postpartum, has the baby in a baby carrier on the floor, packing things in boxes, and is struggling to get up off of the floor. And personally, I just feel like this is very risky. I feel like CPS is going to get involved and potentially even take these children, since they're moving 7 people into a hotel room. There was another woman on this app. I cannot remember her name, but she had blonde hair, I'm pretty sure. And the same exact situation happened to them. They got evicted from where they were living, and she had a small business too. They got evicted and they went to stay in a hotel room, and CPS came and took her kids. And she too was a TikToker and she would go live. So it's a very eerily similar situation. And I'm just wondering if they're going to get involved now.
She was back online like nothing changed. She was still filming, she was still posting, but now for a tiny room full of boxes and crying babies, like you would think that they'll slow her down and figure things out, but no, the content did not stop. People were still watching. Some still felt like bad because, again, being homeless with like 5 kids and a newborn, that's very rough. But a lot of people, they were not surprised. It honestly felt like the eviction was always coming. Like one person said, they had 4 kids sleeping on the floor in a warm bed and decided to keep having babies while waiting for TikTok to take off. Honestly, this may sound harsh, but the thing is, it wasn't wrong. What really pissed people off was how she handled it, because instead of using the time to get her life together, she was still filming. She would still be vlogging through the chaos. She filmed while they packed, she filmed the motel, and there was even a video of her cooking on a hot plate in the motel, like a DIY life hack. They put a socks in to cover the alarm, and then they were cooking. Fuck, like literally, which honestly can be very, very dangerous. What if like fire explodes or something? Meanwhile, because again, the kids, they're being piled up into a room with barely any space to breathe.
My mind is blown. Stephanie Jenkins, why is there a tail hanging from the ceiling? The only reason there would be a tail hanging from a ceiling is to cover up the smoke detector. So you're covering the smoke detector, I think, and then you are using a deep fryer right next to all of these outlets, why not an air fryer? Does this woman know how fast a deep fryer with hot oil in a 1-bedroom hotel with 7 small children could turn into a literal disaster in seconds? Next to all these outlets, this is terrifying. You wouldn't even be able to safely get 7 people out of a hotel room if this caught on fire. Like, this is crazy. For the people that are going to say, why do you care? Why do you care? Because this is nonsense, not normal. You do not get evicted from your apartment and you think to take your deep fryer to a hotel room. Like, a rotisserie chicken is $5 and won't kill you. This will kill you. This is insane. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comments.
Don't feel bad that those kids are living in a hotel. Brazilian Jenkins moved into a hotel. Her newest video is them unloading into the hotel, right? And some people are like, I feel so bad for this family. CPS is going to get involved. Those children are sleeping in real beds with real bedding for perhaps the first time in years, if not ever. Now, in this same video, Drew's actually helping her unload. He couldn't be bothered helping her load up. Why? Because the PS5 was plugged into the apartment still. And in that previous video, she's grabbing the counter, embracing herself with a brand new baby. The woman is like 6 to 7 weeks postpartum, and she's loading up their apartment. Then she goes on to this video where she's unloading into the hotel with Drew, and in the caption she explains that the Wi-Fi is really bad, so they can't hook up the PS5 yet. They're working on a solution. Baby girl, work on a solution to get out of the hotel. Your man needs to get a fucking job. Maybe work on repairing your relationship with your mother so that your children have a stable roof over their heads, not the fucking Wi-Fi. So in that same caption, she says something along the lines of, well, Drew pushed himself almost to the breaking point, loading and unloading. Guess what, baby girl? His body hurts because all he does is sit on his ass and play video games. Of course his body's gonna hurt. Most men in the family do the majority of the packing and the unpacking. I'm talking in a family like yours where the man lives in the house. I'm not shading any single moms here, women who have to do shit on their own. I just can't. And she's like, we're gonna keep filming, we're gonna keep posting. Cool. Keep expecting to receive scrutiny.
And then there was the issue with where they were staying, because the motel itself was not even safe, because motels are not, hopefully I'm not being some type of way, but motels naturally and generally, they are not safe. People online even said that this is a rough area, because you will not find a motel in like the middle of a city. Most times always like at the outskirts or in a rough area, according to what I've seen and the movies I've watched. So if I'm wrong, can someone let me know? Thank you. But anyways, in one video she allegedly left the kids, the younger kids, alone in the room so that she could go somewhere with Drew.
The Resilient Jenkins have literally just left their 5-year-old child and 6-year-old alone in a fucking random motel. And then they took their other 3 kids to the doctor to get Drew checked out because they don't even know what's wrong with him. So mind you, this man has not been working for months. And Stephanie was out here saying he had health issues. I assumed the health issues were diagnosed and she knew what was wrong with this man. But no, literally this man was just sitting around playing on his PS5 telling Stephanie he does not feel well. So they just went and got his blood tested. And Stephanie's all like, oh, thank God I have like a caretaking background because I knew there was something wrong with my man. Like I knew the signs. What do you mean your man has not been working for months and you don't even know what's wrong with him and why he's sick? And people are now alleging that all that's fucking wrong with him is he has high blood pressure. Because he's moving around the videos just fine. I'm not seeing anything that is making it look like this man cannot get a fucking job. Then in this subscriber only video, they show that they're taking only 3 out of the 5 kids they have to the doctor. So where are the other 2 kids? Where's the other 5 and 6-year-old kid? Alone at the hotel room. And you wanna know why those kids are alone? Because they have a car that can only fit 5 people in it. So tell me, how is this family of 7 going fucking anywhere if their car only takes 5 people? So you're telling me that you and your entire family cannot go anywhere safely? You cannot transport your kids anywhere safely? Because if all of you are gonna fit in that car, that's fucking dangerous. The kids will not have their own seat belts. Like, this is actually outrageous because there were multiple options there. Stephanie could have stayed home with the kids. Drew could have went and gotten checked up on his own. It's literally just giving this man cannot do fucking anything. He can't do shit. And Stephanie is literally enabling his behavior because instead of telling him, hey, go checked out, go get checked out. Oh, you can't work? Go figure out what's wrong with you so you can provide for our kids. No, he's just been sitting playing on his PS5 for months, just saying he feels sick and they don't even know what's fucking wrong with him. And to figure it out, they're just getting his blood tested. And then again, people are saying that this is literally just high blood pressure symptoms. Like, that's fucking it. Like, what? So you're putting your kids through homelessness. And you can't even tell me what's wrong with that man? Goodness gracious.
Like, what are you saying? Like, come on. CPS got called again, and not for the first time. And then to top it off, the motel kicked them out too. And I watched a video where someone was like, you guys can call CPS as much as you can. CPS is not going to do anything. Because in as much as she's putting this front that she's poor, blah, 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 which we know she's not because she also had a subscription service, she has money. Like, we'll get to how much she earns. But like, she makes so much money every month. But obviously, this is what she's portraying online. So no matter how much you call CPS, sadly, they've done the evaluation and said, okay, she can provide, because I don't think she's a bad mom. She's not a bad mom. She cooks for her children and everything, but I think that she lacks the ability to think logically and comprehensively and think of the consequences of the actions that she's putting out now.
Why hasn't CPS been called? And I can tell you, as a teacher, CPS probably has been called if their oldest children are school aged. The youngest children stay home with their mother, so there isn't really a lot of accountability there on childcare workers because there aren't any childcare workers. I can also tell you that, CPS has probably been called by viewers as well. Here's the reason why they're not being taken. Now, let me do a disclaimer. I am not a social worker. I do not work for CPS, but I am a mandated reporter, number one. And number two, my family has been doing foster care and working with the foster care system for multiple years, my entire life. I'm 40. What a lot of people don't understand about the foster care system is that a lot of foster families are worse off than this family. The difference is that they have a cleaner house, maybe more space, and a bed for every child, because that is a requirement in order to be a foster care parent. It might be 2 or 3 sets of bunks in one room, but every child has a bed. That's a requirement. The next reason is that while the house does seem cluttered and dirty, it's not filthy. There's no feces everywhere. Maybe there's some cat urine, but that could actually happen anywhere. They're also fed. They have a roof over their head. They're fed. They do not seem to have signs of physical abuse or deprivation of food and basic necessities. Again, this is not my opinion. This is just the reasoning behind why they aren't being taken. As a mandated reporter, I've had to report families before, and I'm not pleased with the way that the system works. I've actually reported a family with the principal, the school nurse, and an officer, and CPS came back to us saying that there was nothing found and everything was fine. And this was for SA. 4 reports for the same child. CPS did nothing. So there probably has been a case already made for this family. They probably checked it out and did nothing.
So yeah, so anyways, like I said, the motel kicked them out, but nobody knows the exact reason. Some said that because they were not paying, others said that because it was just too much people, like causing too much attention. But either way, they got kicked out, and and the cleaner that cleaned their room actually spoke about them. So yeah, like literally.
A woman who claims that she cleaned the Resilient Jenkins motel room has started speaking out on TikTok. This is her first video.
Hey, Stephanie Jenkins. It's Layla. Yeah, girl, you know me. I'm the girl who cleans your motel every 28 days. This video, it's for you. You've been all over TikTok, but are you going to tell your followers how you trash the motel that's not yours? A place you and your kids get to stay in for free? Because while you're out here playing influencer, I'm out here scrubbing your mess. Every single month. I was employed by Do Good Multnomah under JOHS to help disabled people, not to clean up after a TikTok influencer, take advantage of the system for somewhere to live for free. She's the reason why I left, and I wasn't allowed to speak up while I was working for him. But the building is being demolished anyways. Not satire, real life.
Following that video, she made a second video where she makes some very serious claims, including alleging that the resilient Jenkins had needles laying around their hotel room. She also shared some additional pictures as to how the resilient Jenkins have destroyed and damaged this motel room. I'll be posting that in a part 2.
This is just getting so out of hand. Again, someone commented how they've been through to eviction now, and obviously that kind of stuck with me because there are kids, and these kids are being dragged through this mess with no stability, no routine, no real home, just cameras in their faces while their parents just spin everything into content. After that, things got worse because they had no real place to stay. They were just bouncing around. Stephanie, as usual, started blaming everyone else. She said that the haters were ruining everything for her, that people were calling CPS to be spiteful, that landlords were googling them and rejecting them. And maybe that's true, but also people warned her. Landlords are googling you. What are you putting online? Even what you're putting online, even if you did not have anybody reacting to your content, what you're putting online is disturbing. For months, they told her to focus on getting a job, finding a bigger place, doing anything online that didn't involve filming every single breakdown. And she ignored it. And now, here we are. She kept asking for donations. She kept pushing the GoFundMe. Some people even still helped and others were done. Like, it felt like the whole situation could have been avoided if they had just made better choices. I'm thinking, the money they're making from TikTok and their subscription, where the fuck does it go to? What are you using it for? To me, this is a case of greed. Like, at what point do you stop blaming everyone else and just take the accountability?
So Stephanie from the Resilient Jenkins has confirmed that the family has indeed been evicted and they must be out in less than a month. And her way of dealing with this situation is coming onto TikTok to make a passive-aggressive video calling out all the content creators, more specifically, not by name, but Morgan, for their criticism of her lifestyle and her content. Now, here's the thing. What I don't feel like Stephanie understands that with becoming a content creator, you will face criticism, you will face haters, you will face trolls. That is the name of the game. I even deal with that as a very small creator. She has been begging and praying to go viral for years now so that she can change her family's living situation. And now that she has, she cannot handle the heat with what comes from being a larger creator and going viral and the internet. She has exploited her family's whole life for $1, which is one of the reasons as to why they're being evicted in the first place. Her decision to exploit her family's living conditions and try to monetize off it has put a spotlight on the fact that Drew has attained government housing for only him and his son. It did not include 5 other people. So therefore, you're abusing government benefits, which led to the eviction, along with non-payment. Which I'm not understanding the non-payment part, because what are you doing with your social media money? And in my opinion, all those people in her comments that say she's a good mom, I have to disagree, because I don't consider a good mom somebody that lays up with a man that refuses to get a W-2 job because they have back child support and they are a deadbeat dad to another child. I don't understand how that's being a good mother. It's okay for him to take care of your children, but forget about his other son that he hasn't seen in years and he has not given a dime to that mother. That's such a great mom.
The kids, they were clearly struggling. They are packed into this tiny room. They have no routine. They've probably missed school. These kids are not clueless. They know that this is not normal. By the middle of 2025, nothing had really changed. No stable home, no real plans, just more chaos. Except now, even with more people that are now like watching, and not out of support, but like out of concern. The vibe had shifted. People weren't just criticizing anymore. They were worried, and they were not worried because of Stephanie or Drew. They were worried for the kids, because at some point it stopped being about poverty and it started to be about neglect. And people, they are right to be mad, because those kids, they deserve better than being dragged from one eviction to another while their parents filmed it like it's some sort of a reality show.
So there's a couple videos surfacing around of Stephanie Jenkins and Drew Jenkins from the Resilient Jenkins' son, Atlas, standing outside of the hotel room behind their car by himself. The hotel room door is open and he's out there by himself. Yeah, I'm not posting that picture because I don't want to post outside of their hotel room because of the kids' safety. But it is clear as day the little boy standing behind the car with no other adult. Now, I'm not making any assumptions, but it has went around that that boy might have autism. Stephanie has addressed this herself. So I worked with kids with autism. A big thing for them are a lot of them are elopers. So it takes that little boy to run one good time into the street. Like, this is crazy, crazy, crazy. That baby is 2 years old. There's no need for him to be outside by himself. And I noticed in one of the videos they posted, one of the last videos they posted of, like, I think it was Drew's video of him cleaning. You see Stephanie, you see the infant baby, and you see Drew, you see the door wide open, but you don't see Atlas anywhere. So was he outside then too? Please tell me they're not leaving that little boy to run around outside by himself. God, please tell me they're not. Like, there's a lot of things these parents do that just make me completely sick, but this is definitely one of them. So if you want to see it, Morgan was making a video about it earlier. There was another girl that has posted a video about it that I've seen. Just look up Brazilian Jenkins leaving their kid outside, or leaving toddler outside, and you'll see the videos. I don't want to post myself the outside of the hotel, motel, shelter, Holiday Inn, whatever the hell you want to call it. I don't want to post outside, but yeah. I really think it's time that somebody gets involved with this family, because this is getting ridiculous.
Now let's speak about abandoning the cats. So while they were parking up to leave the apartment, the Jenkins, they did something that completely blew up whatever sympathy that they had left. They just abandoned their 4 cats. They didn't rehome their cats, they abandoned their cats, they did not take their cats to shelter. Let me just give them grace. They actually called animal control. Why are you calling animal control? To me, they have a kind of like a bad rep. Does that make sense? She didn't take them to the shelter, she did not get them rehomed. They literally just opened the door and just let them out like they were tossing trash. Basically, they had even thrown away the litter box ahead of time too. So that means they had planned all of this here. Stephanie, she went online and she said that the cats wanted to be outdoor cats. Like, that made it okay. What makes you think they wanted to be outdoor cats?
Decided we will not have indoor cats when we move. Prior to me and Drew getting together, I had 1 cat and he had 1 cat. The cat that he had was a stray that came in from outside, and the cat that I had was a cat that I received from a friend. Becoming a family, we brought in 2 other stray cats. So at one point we did have 4 cats in this apartment. That seriously did not last long, not even more than a couple of weeks. And then my cat Conscious, who's always been a free spirit, wanted to go outside, and so we let her do so. It's always been my opinion that if you have cats and they act like they want to go outside, let them outside. They're animals. And I don't mean for that to sound any bit insensitive. To me, it seems like you're doing the cat a disfavor when they're asking to go outside. That's where they want to be happy, and you're not letting them go. And let's be honest, as much as we love our fur babies, they sure do mess up the inside. I won't miss waking up to cat hair all over my counters. And yes, I am aware that's probably more than likely why we dealt with a flea issue to begin with. We just wanted our kids to experience having their fur babies inside with all the cuddles they wanted. But we feel now it's just the best interest in all of our family members to have them just be outdoor kitties. That does not mean we just stick them outside and not take care of them. Our cats still get plenty of cuddles and they get fed every day. But this way, they get to be the free spirits they like to be outside, and we can go about preventing some of the damages that cats bring to a home, as well as all the cat hair. But we always still love our fur babies.
I have 2 cats that are indoor cats here, Luna Nalani and Orion. They are indoor cats, and every time Orion wants to be outside, you open the door slightly, he's running out. It does not mean he wants to be an outdoor cat. All cats act like that. When they are inside, they like to go to places they are not allowed to go to. Orion mostly stays in the living room, and if I'm not in the living room, he would want to come to my room and be with me. And then if I'm in the room, he will not want to go to the living room. They just like to go to places that you don't want them to go to, or they like to go to where humans are. That's just how cats are. And again, I don't know how it's done in America, but when you're vaccinating your cats, there's 2 types of vaccine. Would your cat be an indoor cat or outdoor cat? So the vaccine that you could give your cat either a vaccine for like indoor cats or for outdoor cats. Like me, I gave him the vaccine for like either indoor or outdoor because I don't know the future. But then like indoor cats' immune system, they are different from outdoor cats' immune system, because indoor cats are more controlled with what they eat, how you feed them, what you feed them, compared to like an outdoor cat. So saying that the cat wanted to be outdoor, like it made it okay, is not okay. And like I said, she even admitted to getting rid of the litter boxes ahead of time. So that means that they had planned to send them out anyways. These are house cats, and people had seen them in old videos chilling around the apartment. They were not outdoor strays, they were pets, they were family pets. So when people saw what happened, it hit a nerve, because even people who had been very neutral or staying quiet on the Jenkins before, they were suddenly like Nah, this is messed up. Everywhere online, anywhere, TikTok especially, Reddit, comment section, people were furious. You don't have to toss your cat outside and act like it's fine. Cats don't just adapt to the streets like that. They'll get hit by cars, they get to starve, they get attacked by animals, they suffer. And she didn't just care, like she just did not care. They wanted to be outside excuse did not fly with anybody. It sounded like exactly what it was, an easy way out. The motel probably didn't allow pets, and instead of trying to like find them homes or at least ask someone for help, she let them loose. She had a platform, she had followers, she could have posted one story asking for help. She didn't even try. People in her area actually started searching for the cats, like physically going out and looking, and a few weeks later 2 of them found a cat, that's Milo and Onyx. So Milo was in a very rough shape. He was thin, he was filthy, he was sick, he had his eye infested, and he had like lice issues. Like, this is the cat that was living in the same house that you're in. I don't know how it's done in America, but in the UK, if you cannot afford anything, like if you're on benefits and you have a pet, they have charity vets like PDSA. So because you're on benefits, everything down to your surgery is done for free, so you don't have to pay. So if you're not working, you go to PDSA and get medication, all those things for your cat. So I don't know how it's done in America, but I like to believe that there's a system for that. But Milo had all these things, and Onyx was scared and he would not let anyone near him at first. You could tell that they have been struggling, and it's very heartbreaking. Like, the people who found them posted updates online and they didn't hold back. One of them said that it's as bad as we thought, with a photo of Milo looking like very terrified. And apparently local authorities, they gave Stephanie a citation for animal abandonment because it's a misdemeanor, and so she's not allowed to hold or to have a pet in 2 years. I'm sure she's happy about that.
Okay, so let's talk about it. So we received 3 citations for the cats that we quote-unquote abandoned.
Stephanie has received citations for the cats. She shared this in her sub only, and people are obviously sharing the video of her talking about her getting these citations because she thinks they quote-unquote abandoned their cats. They did. They absolutely abandoned those cats. She goes on to say that she just does not really understand it. When she was talking to the lady, she was explaining that they were strays and they took them in, and are they really our responsibility? And she just honestly yaps. She goes on to say, if people were really serious about taking on my cats, I would have easily been willing to work with them. But what's so crazy, if you've been following this story for a while, you know that there were people who were really serious about it. But she has made so many comments about the woman who actually took in her 2 cats, and it irks me so bad because we all could see that that lady was not trying to chase clout over the Jenkins cats. That woman just had a good heart. She knew you guys were leaving those cats one way or another. But this is what Stephanie had to say about her.
Or people who have reached out to me haven't been legitimate about it because, let's be honest, you weren't serious about helping until it could bring clout to you.
Then she put the text over that says, this was the honest truth. If that girl who supposedly has Milo now had shown real interest in rehoming him while we were still at the apartment, I would have been more than happy to set that up. But she knew she'd get her followers going about the way she did. I can't. I don't use that kind of energy to post content. What? Are we watching the same thing? She posts content putting her children in freaking danger, driving in a car that does not fit all of them, and we know damn well it doesn't, putting blankets over babies' faces, having her infant sleeping in a car seat, having her other children sleep on the floor and wherever else they can fit them. They have fire hazards in their freaking motel room every day. What do you mean you don't post that kind of thing for followers and content? Yes, you do. And also, she actually did a good deed where you have yet to do anything that people can applaud you for, because it just seems like you keep making horrible choices. And now you have 3 citations, you said? I looked it up and it said it's at maximum $1,000 per citation or 30 days in jail. So I assume that they're going to be paying a couple $1,000s for the cats that they abandoned. And don't say you didn't. You threw away all their stuff. We watched it firsthand. You documented it. You only have yourself to blame on this one. Okay, so tell me what you guys think. Do you think Stephanie should have got the citations? Did she abandon her cats or not?
Never wanted to abandon these cats.
Thank you for calling Picture Project. How can I help you?
Hi, I was wondering if you guys accept like taken cats.
From my research, and maybe I'm wrong on this, but all of the shelters and sanctuaries in my area are tapped out for resources.
Yeah, to start the process for surrender, we would have you fill out a form on our website. That's 6bproject.org.
I wasn't able to find any family or friends to take them while we try to figure this whole situation out. It's freaking sad, and I don't think many people are going to understand it, but I had to make the decision of actually calling Animal Control back myself and asking them to take the cats because I don't want these fur babies actually to be abandoned. That's the last thing I freaking want. We decided we will not have indoor cats when we move.
Is there like a fee for that?
We do ask for a suggested donation. It's not mandatory. For cats, it's 100. For dogs, it's 300. Once you fill out the form, keep an eye on your email. We'll get you the next availability for a date and time, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, thank you so much, ma'am.
Yeah, no problem. Take care.
You too. Bye-bye.
Again, it could have easily been worse. If you're living in the UK, let me tell you, if you do anything to harm a cat or harm a house pet, you're going to 5 years in prison. You're going to 5 years in prison. So yeah, in case you're trying to be like Stephanie, or rather you're not. So let me tell you guys something. This is why I said that Stephanie does not have the ability to think critically or like to comprehend things even when she speaks. I think she has like, I don't want to damage anybody, but let me just keep going, because when the resilient Jenkins found out that Milo, one of their cats, had been rehomed, it became less about the welfare of the animal and more about Stephanie's need to control the narrative. And this is what narcissists do. They try to control the narrative around them to make them be seen as, the good guy, okay? Instead of Stephanie to come out to take accountability for the events that led to the cats being removed from the care, she chose to turn the situation into a monologue of misplaced blame, emotional manipulation, and online martyrdom. And the most frustrating part is that the cat had already been sent away before the family even moved into the motel, which again means that this was not some sudden forced eviction of beloved pets. It was literally a decision that had already been made, and obviously people were so outraged. The outrage came later, and it came when the consequences became public and inconvenient for any of them to explain, because Stephanie didn't quietly reflect or admit. She was not like, oh hey, maybe I could have handled that better. No, she got online as usual, and then she flipped the whole situation into a personal attack. So basically, in the now viral screenshot of her post, which I'll put on the screen, she blasted the very people who had stepped in to help. She accused them of waiting to take action just so that they could accuse her of abandonment. She called them cowards and said that they didn't have the balls to show up in person, and acted like everyone suddenly descended on her home out of spite. In her version of events, these people weren't rescuing animals, they were staging an ambush. Like, girl, not everything is about you, okay? Because here is the issue. Nobody knew that the cats were in danger, because Stephanie, she never made that clear. If she was seriously asking for help, it was buried under hours of live streams and vague posts that prioritized sympathy over clarity. The only thing that was clear was the pattern. Create a crisis, go live, cry, and let the people or the viewers figure it out, so that when people figure it out, they will send you money or they will buy something on your Amazon wish list. So when people did finally intervene, when they did step up to take Milo and the other cats to safety, she did not express relief. She was outraged, she was filled with rage, not because the cats were gone, but because she no longer had the control over the situation or the optics of it. She said, obviously you all knew where we were located and how to get to the cat, as if viewers were supposed to intuitively coordinate an animal rescue without clear instruction. Stephanie, let me tell you something. People call CPS for your children because they do not think that you're treating them well. So what makes you think that if they knew about the situation that your cats were living, they wouldn't have called RSPCA, they wouldn't have called RSPCA on those cats? It's common sense. So basically, she scolded people for not helping Sudan, and then she ignored the fact that she never asked for real help in the first place. She wanted emotional backup. She did not want solutions that were logical, logistical solutions. That's not what she wanted. She just wanted people to be there. She wanted to rule with her emotions. She wanted people to flood the comments with love and outrage, and she did not want to take any action that might expose the consequences of her choice. And let's be honest, this wasn't about Milo. It wasn't about any of the cats. It was about Stephanie's image. Stephanie was not sad that the cats were rehomed. She was upset that she got painted as a person who failed them, and she did fail them because for someone who's built a platform of public struggle, being seen as a villain just rules the brand. So yeah, it literally chips away at the carefully curated narrative that she's another person or she's a mother just trying her best up against the world, which she's not doing a good job. And if people start questioning that, the entire house of cards just starts to like wobble. What's even more disappointing is how little concern that she showed for the animals' well-being, because she found out that okay, yeah, these people, they rehome the cats, they're taking care of the cats, but there was no gratitude for the people who rescued them, no updates on how Milo is doing, no recognition that maybe this was the best possible outcome for pets who had been stuck in an unstable environment. Instead, she doubled down on her own suffering. She's like, we've been through a freaking lot as a family. Again, victimizing herself and her family. She putting all this out, writing all this, insisting that the real issue wasn't the cats being left behind, it was the criticisms that she got for the cats being left behind. And this is a pattern that we've seen again and again when it comes to Stephanie. Deflect, defend, and derail. She refuses to sit with the discomfort of being in the wrong, even when it's clear. Instead, she weaponizes her hardship, she drags every situation back to her own struggle, no matter who else is impacted. So whether it's her children, or whether it's her pets, whether it's her viewers, or like the people who even support her, they're all props in a revolving door of sympathy-filled content. And when the storyline threatens to shift away from her, she scrambles to put it back. And in the end, Milo getting rehomed should have been a relief, yeah? A responsible decision, a chance to show viewers that doing what's best for an animal sometimes means letting go. But instead of treating it like that, Stephanie turned it into another content arc, another episode in the never-ending drama of look what they are doing to us. And that is the problem. When every life around you becomes a plot device, you stop seeing them as living beings with needs and you start seeing them as tools to keep the story going. So no, Stephanie was not a victim in this situation. The only ones who had no say, no voice, and no protection were the animals that she willingly gave up. And yet somehow she made herself the one who needed defending. That's very heartbreaking, honestly. That whole thing killed whatever goodwill that the Jenkins still had. Even people who were still trying to see the good in her couldn't defend her. Pets rely on you because they don't have like free will, kind of, if that makes sense. Because if you just toss out your pet like that, what does that say about you? Like about how you treat the people that are relying on you? No one is saying that kids and pets are the same, but it's the coldness, it's a lack of care. That's what freaks people out. Like, the connection is very hard to ignore because cats are very independent. Yeah, they are clingy. My Orion is so clingy. He is so clingy, like, it's very overwhelming. But I can leave Orion in the house and go out. I know that he can go to the litter and use a litter and shit and drink water and eat. Because they're that independent, you understand? He can clean up after himself. That independent. So yeah, like, that is a connection that's very hard to ignore. People are like, if you're treating a pet like this, how more would you treat like a human being? Obviously, the people try to defend her, saying that obviously they are facing homelessness and they had no options. But come on, there were options. There were options. People have been offering help. She had access to thousands of people watching her life unfold. She could have done the smallest thing to rehome them. Instead, she just got rid of them like they were a burden. Like, how did you even feel putting your cat on the street today? How did you feel putting your cat? I'm so sorry I'm so much on this point because I'm just imagining putting my cat on the street. Like, sometimes I let my cats go out because in front of by my room I have like this playground. Sometimes I let him go out, but like every, like, not even up to a minute, I'm like calling him so that he come where I see him. How do you let all your cats go out? Because cats, if you have a cat, you have this emotional connection to your cat. Like, how do you let them go out? Like, I don't get it. How do you just throw out your cats like that? And that was the moment that people just fully checked out, because any sympathy that they had for the Jenkins family, Drew Jenkins, Jenkins or Stephanie Jenkins is all gone. And at that point, it wasn't about struggle anymore. It's about carelessness. CPS calls, they went up. People were reporting them left, right. And not just because of the cats, but because now people were really starting to question everything else. If that's how they treated animals, what was happening behind the scenes with those kids? And as all that heat was building, another storm was on the way, because that is about Drew's custody issues. And I'm talking about unpaid child support, legal stuff that had been bubbling under the surface for a while, and everything was catching up to them, and it was catching up to them fast. So that being said, let's talk about Drew Jenkins' child support evasion and custody battles. So let's talk about Drew Jenkins, because long before he was slouched in the background of Stephanie's live stream looking like he accidentally wandered into someone else's mess, this man was already failing as a father. It turns out that Drew had other kids. I covered it in my last video. I spoke about when his baby mama came and spoke about everything, and yeah, but one of his baby mamas, actually not his baby mama, like one, so he has 3 baby mamas, because technically he's not married to Stephanie, so he has 3 baby mamas, which we'll get into it. So basically, turns out like Drew had like other kids, at least 2 kids from 2 different women, and one of them, his eldest son, he hadn't supported in over 10 years, like literally. No consistent payments, no real involvement, just a decade of being ghost. Then October 2024 came around, and Alita, the mother of that first child, finally spoke, and this was when they were going viral. And she wasn't vague either. She said that Drew had only paid child support twice, both times through intercepted tax return. She hadn't been able to serve him because he kept ducking and disappearing, claiming that he wasn't working and acting like the court would just forget that he existed. But the thing is, Alita didn't have to go on some wild goose chase to like get Drew served. She just paid attention, and by the time they moved into their second motel, Stephanie was filming everything, the front of the building, the layout, what the area looked like, and everyone was watching closely, and because they were watching closely, they could piece together where they stayed. So Alita did exactly that. She just watched videos, she clocked the surroundings, she read the comments, she figured out where they were, where they lived, and she gave the sheriff the info, because I think she said her caseworker had said, you know what, you can raise a case against this guy. And it worked, because the sheriff confirmed to Alita that Drew had finally been served. After all that time, the content that they posted online was the one that did the work for her.
But what she told me that he did state that he was working. He just refused to pay. So whose fault is that? That's bum behavior.
Since Stephanie and Drew share personal details about their life, including hints about their location online, it didn't take long for Drew's ex to track them down. She was able to have a sheriff deliver court papers to hold him in contempt for the past due child support.
And like I said, if she hadn't exposed herself up here on these internet streets about how they were living and everything, I probably wouldn't have gotten the outcome this fast.
Andrew's ex shared that she recently got a call from her caseworker about the unpaid child support. The caseworker asked if she wanted to hold Drew in contempt since he told the court he was working a few months ago at a previous court hearing, but wasn't making payments. She said, yes, do what you have to do. And according to her, she's never received consistent child support from Drew. Only 2 large payments in the past, and those came from his tax returns years ago.
So he's being held in contempt of our child support order, which finally now I can say, because since all this stuff about the eviction and them being in hotels and y'all doing weird stuff like doxing them and doing that, I don't condone the doxing. I don't, because there's kids involved. But it helped me out a little bit in the long run because I was able to have him served. And I got the confirmation from the sheriff that he was served. Yeah. And his court date for next month is April 7th.
And then came April 7, 2025. That was supposed to be the day that Drew finally faced the music for that decade of unpaid child support. He had a court date, a moment to show up, to take responsibility, and maybe prove that he wasn't completely allergic to accountability. But guess what he did instead? He claimed that he had a seizure. Yeah, my man woke up that morning and suddenly couldn't make it to court because of a medical emergency. Except the paramedics who showed up, they were not buying it. People online even said that they didn't even see anything serious. And what does Stephanie do? She gets online, she starts talking crap about the EMT, saying that they were rude, they were saying that they didn't believe Drew's condition. Like, girl, what condition? Because literally the week before, he was gaming for hours on live streams with zero complaints.
Y'all, Drew Jenkins is so hilarious to me. I've been killing myself laughing. Sir, you said you had a 3-minute seizure? 3 minutes? Do y'all know how long 3 minutes is? Seizures usually happen pretty quickly. Now, I'm not saying they can't happen that long, but if it did, you certainly wouldn't get up right after that and start making TikTok videos and telling people you got admitted to the hospital when clearly the room that you in is a ER room. Y'all, I have been killing myself laughing. It's so funny to me. I cannot make this up. Now, Drew, if you really had a seizure, Lord bless you, okay? Because I know it can be so hard having withdrawals from playing your PS5. You probably having withdrawals from that, okay? Because you working now on the PS5. You work that. And then I know you've been working yourself to the bone, cooking those hot plate dinners. That can be a lot on one person, okay? So I'm truly praying for you, Drew. And I hope and pray you don't have another 3-minute seizure. We need to pray for him, y'all.
Drew Jenkins is in the hospital. The dad of the resilient Jenkins just posted a video of himself in a hospital bed with a caption on the video that said, "Hey everyone, I'm not behind bars like I'm sure people thought I would be. I guess I had a 2 to 3 minute seizure and I didn't come to until I got to the hospital. We don't know the cause except I was a couple of hours late taking my heart medication." He then posted a video of his head with a slight red mark with a caption that said, "I hit my head on the wall and ended up with a few goose eggs." Many people are speculating that this hospital incident is a stunt to excuse him for not appearing in court on Monday. According to Drew's first child's mother, Arlita, Drew was supposed to be in court on Monday for back child support that he owes for his 12-year-old son. Arlita says that she waited over an hour for Drew to show up at the courthouse, but that he never did. It is unknown at this time if there is a warrant out for Drew, but if the judge doesn't buy this ER trip, there's a good chance that there will be soon.
And that's when people really started like side-eyeing everything. Like, is he trying to build a paper trail to claim disability? If he gets on benefits, maybe he thinks he can legally avoid paying child support altogether.
Drew Jenkins is faking his illnesses and disabilities so that he doesn't have to work. And this is being confirmed by the doctors that the resilient Jenkins have been going to go see. So Stephanie just posted a video on her Facebook. She is mad that the system is working against Drew because he is a black man. Yes, she had the audacity to bring color into it, and not the fact that her man just doesn't want to work to avoid child support. He missed court, I think Monday, because he just so happened to have a medical emergency that morning, the same day he was supposed to go to court. And when they called the paramedics, Stephanie said that the paramedics were telling Drew that he was either making it up or that whatever he was going through was due to a substance abuse problem, and she didn't like that one bit. She started saying that they are doing this to him because he is a man of color, and they're not taking him seriously because the system likes to work against people who are poor or people who are not white, which I mean, that is true, yes, but we obviously know that that's not the case here. If several doctors are telling you that there's nothing wrong with that man, there is nothing wrong with that man. And this is when she gets all, my man, my man, my man. She starts to say, I know my man better than a medical professional knows my man. She says that, oh, doctors know you for 30 minutes and they like to tell you that they know what you're going through, but I know my man and I know myself better than the doctors do. And if I say my man is going through something and that's why he can't work, my man is going through something and that's why he can't work. She is so dead set, like, on believing that there is really something wrong with Drew, but she said it herself. They have been to multiple doctors and all of these doctors are turning them away, saying that there is nothing going on with him. But again, everyone in the comments is letting her know you are being a little bit delusional right now, a little bit, to put it nicely, because she genuinely believes that something is wrong with Drew. Like, I don't know, guys. I don't know. I don't think she's ever gonna wake up. But let me know what you think down below in the comments about Drew faking a medical emergency to avoid court and his woman Stephanie riding behind him 100%.
I would say at this point, his strategy is not to outright avoid anything, but to look for a way that it would favor him without him having to suffer any legal repercussions. It's giving a long-term strategy without jail time, you know, lay low, act sick, cash a check, and keep dodging fatherhood. Yeah, that's what it's giving. And while all that's happening, let's not forget he and Stephanie still had custody of one of his other kids, a younger son from another relationship with a woman named Desiree. And the way they got the boy, allegedly sketchy as hell. From what's been shared online, he was supposedly just going there for visiting, and next thing you know, he's living with Drew and Stephanie full-time. No updates, no return, nothing. They even changed his last name to Jenkins without telling his mother. And then get this, they tried to file for child support from her, allegedly. Let me be clear, Drew hadn't paid a penny to Alita in over 10 years, but he had the audacity to go after Desiree for money for a child they may have literally kept. And that's just me being nice, because in my own opinion, that is kidnapping. Because wait a minute, isn't that kidnapping? Because if that story is true, it's just shady and criminal. I even saw someone online ask why Stephanie was so against letting Deshaun, and that's the boy's name. So that's the boy's name. So I saw online someone asked why Stephanie was so against letting Deshaun stay with his actual mother. And you know what? The way I see it, there are two possible reasons that they are refusing to let Deshaun go back to his mother. And honestly, both of them, they make sense. First, if they keep him, they can try and slap Desiree with child support, which means free money into their pocket. Second, depending on how their benefits are set up, having an extra child in the house could be bumping up whatever they're getting from the government. Either way, it doesn't feel like they are thinking about what's actually best for Deshaun. It feels like they are keeping him because it benefits them.
You know, I really want to know, what do Stephanie and Drew at this point gain by keeping Deshaun? Why don't they just give him back to his mom, or at least have some split custody? I do not understand what is there to gain at this point. Drew, you had him because you got benefits, you got housing. Because of him, you lost that housing. Stephanie, what are you trying to prove a point? Who are you trying to prove a point to? Because it's very clear that he's the least favorite. It's very clear that he's being mistreated. It's very freaking clear that he is the bottom of the barrel when it comes to those kids. Especially when I see the difference in the birthday treatment, how she treated her daughter and treated him, the difference in the presents, and then even the fucking decorations. It is one less mouth to feed, one less body to clothe, one less child to worry about in this horrible situation that they got themselves in willingly. Then Stephanie loves to preface any sort of accusations or questions about the children and their treatment and their behavior and how they are faring with, oh, all the kids are happy, healthy, we're a tight-knit, close family, they're siblings, they all love each other, they don't want to be taken from each other. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, are you sure about that? Because I just saw a creator who had screenshot one of the notes that was given to her daughter from one of the kids, I'm kind of thinking it's Deshaun, for her birthday. And the note said, I hate your birthday because I feel lonely. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, these kids aren't happy. They're not healthy. You're only close-knit and a tight family because you have no choice, because you're all up under each other. They've been living in one room with each other for years. They have no space, no room to grow, no privacy, no nothing. They don't have a choice whether to not be happy or healthy. Those kids are trauma bonded. They're they're literally getting drugged through trauma right now. And I feel bad for them, but I feel the worst for Deshaun because he receives the worst out of all of them. He is the most mistreated and he needs to be back with his mother expeditiously.
Thankfully, Desiree did not fold. She took them to court, and by mid-2025, she finally got approved for unsupervised visit with her son, which is a huge moment. But when the first visit came around, guess what? Guess who did not show up? Drew and Stephanie. They just left her hanging, and then Stephanie had the audacity to go online and say, "We let him decide. We let him decide." Be serious. That boy is a child. He's not a court mediator. You don't let a child decide whether to follow a court order. That's on you as the adult. And let's be honest for a second, you really expect us to believe that this child looked around at that cramped, light-ridden, one-bedroom motel room with no beds and said, "Yeah, I want to stay here." Like, be serious. Come on. Like, let's be serious. That was never his choice. That was a decision made for him by adults who were more focused on control than his well-being, allegedly. Meanwhile, the court wasn't playing around because Drew got held in contempt again, and this time jail was on the table. Desiree was finally getting closer to full custody and people were relieved. One less kid stuck in that chaos. And look, if the way they got custody in the first place is true, if Desiree sent them for a visit and he never came back, then again, that is not shady. It sounds like straight up kidnapping. These are things that we see in true crime almost all the time, you know. The courts don't do things to favor the child, and then the most frustrating parent does something to harm the child. And I hope that does not happen to Deshaun. It's so crazy because, again, this is kidnapping. Because why are you changing a child's last name and act like the past doesn't exist just because you're ready to play house on TikTok? Meanwhile, the courts, they saw through all the nonsense. Drew was held in contempt again, and jail time, like I said, was on the table. Desiree looked like she was finally on track to get her son back, and people were rooting for her because at this point, getting a child out of that circus wasn't just a win for her, it was a win for that boy's safety and peace of mind. And at the end of the day, this whole situation is what happens when you try to turn dysfunction into a brand. You want to monetize every meltdown, every eviction, every teardrop, but the second the consequences show up, suddenly you're the victim. The problem is the internet is not buying that anymore. And again, I have a video on getting pregnant by losers. Like, people should please learn how to vet people, especially men, before you choose to have their baby. I'm saying this because some of these men out here are like real life dusties. Not all, some of them. And they have somehow been more apparent than the good men that we have. And it really looks like the good men that we have in today's world are literally the size of 10 mustard seeds in a field of wheat. So that being said, let's speak about the dark past. And here I'm going to speak about Stephanie's husband and her personal trauma. Stephanie Jenkins' story doesn't start with drama. It doesn't end with clouds. It starts with survival, and it's the kind where you grow up fighting for air. And by the time you're old enough to leave, you're so used to chaos that peace feels suspicious. And that's what people miss when they watch her life unfold online. They see mess and assume it's all her doing. But the deeper you look, the clearer it gets. This isn't just poor decision making. This is trauma playing itself out in real time. The most horrifying part, she married a convicted child molester whose name is Jeremiah. That name alone makes people check out the conversation because it's very unforgiving, okay? He wasn't just some guy with a record. He was serving time for crimes so vile that they don't even sound real. He molested his own mother and other children. He's a repeat predator, and Stephanie didn't just end up with him by accident. So reports said that she knew, literally her mom said that she knew about him and she still got with him. She still had his kids. She still stayed. Stephanie's relationship with Jeremiah wasn't about love. It wasn't some naive mistake or a case of poor judgment. It was the result of years of pain that had not been dealt with. She wasn't drawn to him because she did not care or did not know better. She was vulnerable. When you grow up around dysfunction, your sense of what is safe or normal starts to get distorted. You start mistaking control for for care or manipulation for love. And Jeremiah knew exactly what kind of person to target. And Stephanie at that point in her life didn't have the tools to protect herself. This wasn't about choosing the wrong man. This was about someone who had already survived so much, being pulled even deeper into something dangerous because no one had shown her what healthy looked like. It's not just online speculation either. Her own mother, Reese, went on record in an interview with YouTuber Slay with Alicia May, and she laid it bare. According to her, Stephanie brought Jeremiah into the family's life when Stephanie was 20. She was young, she was vulnerable, and she was already showing signs of being isolated by him. Reese says that she had no clue at the time who he was, and when she did find out, she was very, very disappointed in Stephanie because what shattered her was that Stephanie had brought this man around her little brothers who were at that time 7 and 8 years old without saying a word about his past. This was a moment that Reese couldn't hold it or ignore it anymore, and this wasn't like a one-off. Reese described a pattern: first Jeremiah, then Drew. Different men who had the same game. They would isolate Stephanie from her family, they would feed her lies, they would keep her pregnant, keep her dependent, and every time someone tried to pull her out, she would push back and she would blame her upbringing. Call it childhood trauma, it always came up when she wanted distance.
My name is Reese, and I have 6 children, 6 adult children. Stephanie is number 3, very close to all my other children. I spend a lot of time with my other grandchildren. It's strange that, when it comes to Stephanie, there's this kind of disconnect, this discord, and it's been hard to watch it happen. I love my daughter. I love her very much, but man, this crap is just going kind of haywire. Oh my gosh, it's really hard to talk about this and I'm trying so hard I don't want to put Stephanie in a bad light. You know what I mean? I'm trying really hard. The last thing I want to do is create more hate for Stephanie. She's been through it. She's been through a lot. Her first marriage was a situation where she met this person. He had told her, that he was a registered. He had her convinced that all of it was stuff he told her that all that stuff was stuff he'd been accused of, but nobody could really prove. And that he comes from a really, really large family. And it was my brother who did that to my mom. But he'd already been in trouble with the law. So my mom decided to make it me because I wouldn't get in as much trouble. And there was just this list of excuses. And she bought it, hook, line, and sinker. And when she first brought him to my house for me to meet him, they'd been together for about 3 months before she brought him over to meet me. What really pissed me off is that she brings him to my house. Her brothers at that time were 7 and 8. And the age of the child he's been with? She didn't tell me that this man had this about him. And she brought him to my home with her younger brothers. So that was the beginning of this really hostile relationship between me and Stephanie. And I don't know how much more proof you need that this man wasn't gonna do anything for you except for keep your world small and keep you from being able to ever do for yourself.
Reese isn't some bitter mom, in my own opinion, that's trying to look innocent. She's a domestic violence advocate, and she said that she's worked with women who have gone through this exact thing. And even with all her knowledge, even with all her training, she couldn't save her own daughter from it. And that's what made the interview hard to watch. She clearly still loves Stephanie, but she's also clearly scared of Stephanie's choices. She brought up something that a lot of people overlook, and that is reproductive coercion. That's when a partner pressures or manipulates someone into having kids as a way to trap them. Reese said that Stephanie just kept having babies with men who gave her the illusion of love, but only stayed close when pregnancy was involved. Once the baby came, the attention disappeared, and the pattern, it would repeat every single time. That kind of cycle doesn't start out of nowhere. Stephanie's own childhood, according to her, was strict, religious, and full of discipline. She's implied different kinds of trauma over the years, sometimes suggesting abuse, sometimes backing off. She's accused her mother of violating boundaries, but then later said it wasn't sexual. There is no consistent story. So basically, let me expand that. I watched a video when she was talking about why she doesn't want her mother's help, and she said, my mother essayed, then she now changed the topic.
I wish I would stop with that. My mom essayed no. My mom is not a good person. She's awful. Okay? I'm not calling my mom. You want an example? My sister is in a terrible situation herself right now, where the person won't even let her contact me. Me and my sister have never gone without communicating ever. This is the first time she's not allowed to speak to me. It's that bad. And in this situation, my mom knows exactly where to find my sister and won't tell me. Okay? She won't go take care of it herself and take my sister out of that situation. If she cared, she would. So I'm done talking about that. Let's not bring up things that are irrelevant right now. I'm not going to my mom, who's just going to bring more. Who's like the female version of this situation. Heck no.
Another video shows that my mother did not essay me directly, but she would cross my boundaries.
Showering. So I'm just going to leave the door cracked. Mind you, I'm like 17, almost 18. So yeah, when I met my ex guy that was like, hey, you can move in with me, I was like, heck yeah, man, living with my mom is hell. So that's a whole nother story, but I just wanted to put that out there. My mom didn't ever directly SA me, okay? But there was definitely a lot of times where she did not respect my privacy. And that's really where I was going to go on, was that there was just things growing up throughout my development that I would never put on my kids. And since my mom has not taken the time with me specifically to heal what went on between us, maybe she's done so with my siblings, fucking wonderful, but she hasn't done that with me specifically. So I don't feel comfortable with her around my kids until, if ever, her and I heal what's went on between her and me. Okay?
So nobody really knows what is going on between Stephanie and her mother Reese. But when people talk about generational trauma, this is what it looks like. It looks like pain handed down in silence, confusion that is wrapped in loyalty. Reese, she's admitted that she wasn't the perfect mother. She said that she doesn't know what specific trauma that Stephanie meant anytime or means anytime she references her past. Their relationship, she said, started unraveling when Stephanie was about 16. That's when Stephanie started growing distant, and from there it just never came back together.
A lot of questions like, how did you parent her? What was your parenting style like? What was her childhood like? And I've been really transparent with the fact that I was not a perfect mom. I had my own issues. But probably the thing that affected us the most is the fact that I raised my kids in a Christian church, very much. You spank your kids, you do this, you don't let them do that, you don't. And that is, I don't even think that is the trauma she talks about, honestly, because I never my children, you know what I mean? It's not, so it's really hard for me to understand what trauma she's really speaking of. I think it more relates to the fact that, like, when she was around 16, her and I really started butting heads. It was probably from that point on that we seemed like we couldn't get along for nothing. All of a sudden, she had trauma from me. That's when she started bringing all this up. All this trauma she's had and all this abuse from her childhood, almost as if she has to use that to justify the fact that she doesn't want me in her life, but it's because the person she's with doesn't want me in her life. And now we're seeing it all over again with Drew, where it was a very subtle but gradual process that happened, and all of a sudden she's cutting me out of her life, but she's saying I cut her out of my life. It's the other way around.
You can see those cracks in how Stephanie parents now. She has a lot of kids, and the reason for them, they don't seem random. There's something about motherhood that looks like a lifeline to her. Like, maybe if she builds her own family, she can fix the pain that her childhood left behind. But when you try to heal through having more kids without healing yourself first, it doesn't work. You just spread it wider. Take Drew, the man that she's with now. He doesn't work. He games all day. He doesn't support her financially or emotionally, but she still stays. Not because he's good to her, but because he's familiar. He plays the same role that Jeremiah did. Distant, cold, manipulative, and Stephanie plays the same role too, overcompensating, having more kids, hoping that love will make him change, and it hasn't.
And in the same breath, when I see her post like this, I saw it earlier in the story, I read it one way before I knew about her history, And after knowing about the monster, I read this quite differently now. Quote, y'all, my hubby said that if I can take our account viral and change our financial situation, he'll hump away and give me as many babies as I want. So help a girl out, share, follow, and help my account so I can make this man a father of 7. Yes, it is totally irresponsible for her to even think about having more kids until she has the financial ability built up and maintained for several years and adequate housing. That's my opinion, to be able to afford and provide for those kids. Anything less, I think, would be negligent. But when I read that, the quote, my hubby said, if I can take our account viral, as if he has do with all of the work she puts in on the account, and that he promises bedroom relations when we know she's craving literally any form of validation from him, that reads like abuse to me. And when you pair it with her feeling rewarded by having more babies that permanently attach her to him, it's alarming. And this sparked this thing with me. I remember there are studies about men who continually impregnate their partners in order to force them to stay trapped at home, caring for the kids so that they can go out and burn through the money and enjoy their freedom. This is something called reproductive coercive abuse, and I wonder if this plays a role in what Drew is doing. And I also wanted to bring this up in case any of you feel like you might be experiencing something like this, but didn't know that there was a term for this. Quote, RCA refers to a range of behaviors such as pressure, manipulation, emotional blackmail, trickery, threats, and the use of various kinds of abuse to dictate a person's reproductive choices or interfere with their reproductive autonomy. RCA can include physical, psychological, sexual, emotional, or financial abuse designed to either promote or prevent pregnancy. And when I heard her mother say this, it made me think that perhaps the monster also did this to Stephanie, and she's living in a pattern that she's not even aware of.
My first reaction to her pregnancy was, of course, I was thrilled that my daughter was having a baby, but I could not believe she would be giving him a child.
Genuinely hate that she phrased it, giving him a child, as if that was Stephanie's fault or that the guy didn't have something to do with this. I don't even know if Stephanie was being abused when she got pregnant. I don't even know if that pregnancy was the result of something forced. I don't know. We don't know.
And I tried really hard. I came up from California to be here when the baby was born, and there was a lot of things going on in the hospital room that really made him angry that I got involved, that Stephanie wanted things done a certain way, and he kept telling her, no, we're going to do it this way. And I'm like, for God's sake, she's the one having a child here. Why don't you just back off? And so he used that to tell Stephanie that I wasn't a good person to be in her life anymore. That began Stephanie and I not talking during that marriage.
A phrase Stephanie repeats a lot in her videos is, you never know what someone is going through. From my very limited knowledge, we all have very limited knowledge, I believe that Stephanie has been in an abusive cycle that went from one monster to Drew. Again, there's no excuse for them making these sweet, innocent kids their collateral damage, and I damn sure won't make excuses for the things she's done and what we're gonna get to, but we know that abusive experiences can heavily shape someone's behaviors, and what if, in her mind, through this trauma, desperate times call for unsafe measures.
And while all that plays out, the kids are the ones who are going to suffer. Her 10-year-old daughter is reportedly the one cooking, cleaning, taking care of the babies. A child being forced to act like an adult because the actual adults can't help or won't step up is what I would call parentification. It's emotional neglect. Whether Stephanie sees it or not, these kids have lived in a one-bedroom apartment, then in a motel. They've had to perform for the internet just to keep the lights on. And Stephanie, whether she realizes it or not, has turned their trauma into content. It's not something that is inspirational. At this point, she's just surviving when she does not need to survive because she gets paid so much money every single month. She films their worst moments because clicks do pay, and when people call her out, she cries online about being misunderstood, but she never stops. The Jeremiah topic comes up again and again, and people won't let her forget, and instead of addressing it head on, she actually spiraled. Stephanie had asked more than once for people to stop bringing up Jeremiah. She's cried on the camera. She's begged people to leave his name out of her comment section, explaining how triggering it is to see him mentioned every time her name comes up.
Doing any freaking favors, pulling up the history of my ex and what I've been through with that. this. I've done my best to be quiet about this, but this is quite frankly not okay. You don't understand the situation. You don't know why I'm still married to him. You have no idea what I went through with that mother. The only reason I don't speak on it is because you have no idea how triggering that situation actually is. Ever since I went viral and people can't stop bringing up his freaking name, I've had nothing but PTSD nightmares. Now maybe you don't understand that. Maybe you've never had somebody wake you up in the middle of the night to do whatever they want to you. Time I've tried to go to court and fight him, something has been not lining up and hasn't been in my favor. I've done it multiple times. I honestly cannot grasp how many women are the ones coming at me like this. I can't, bro.
And honestly, she's right. That kind of pain doesn't just go away. It's not just some scandal from her past. It's literally a wound that was never fully healed. It's so disturbing how many people online still treat that chapter of her life like she chose it freely. Like she wasn't 20 years old. She was literally vulnerable. She was already isolated and trying to make something work with someone who had manipulated her into believing that he was a victim too. That's how abusers operate. They don't show up with red flags and warnings. They show up with sub stories, charms, and just enough attention to make someone feel seen, because he actually lied to her when she found out about what happened. He lied to her and said that it was his mom that said he should take the fall because it was his brother that did all those things. So it's obviously very easy for her to get vulnerable, because she's come out to even say that she has low self-esteem because she doesn't even know how to raise her child. There's video which said, I don't know how to raise my daughter because I myself am not even confident in myself.
Either way, I just wanted to say, like, to me, raising daughters when I have zero confidence is freaking hard. I'm trying to raise daughters who have confidence, who believe they're beautiful, who know they're smart, who, you know, want to rock whatever outfit they want and have confidence to go out the house, and anxiety doesn't keep them in the fucking house. That is so hard when I am zero confidence and have anxiety that just rules my fucking world.
Even the person she's with is not even showing her love. We'll speak about this later on the video. Even the person she is has told her that he loves her only 3 times a year.
And I mean, I love my partner and I don't want to say nothing negative about him, but it wouldn't hurt him to say he has appreciation for me every now and again, to tell me that he finds me attractive, but that just seems like it's fucking vinegar on his tongue or something. So I gotta know, like, is there other women who can relate to this? Like, does your man not ever tell you you're attractive and you just kind of like have to assume he's still attracted to you? I mean, like I said with the whole editing and everything, I feel like women write the script for their men because... And I mean, I know we're tired, we got kids, we have a life, but isn't like in our 30s a little bit young to just barely have a sexual life? Like, something's off, yo.
So imagine someone when she's young, and when you're young, scared and already struggling to feel safe in your own skin, it's very easy to mistake that for love. And what the internet often forgets or maybe refuses to understand is that being connected to someone like Jeremiah doesn't make you the predator, it makes you the collateral damage. It makes you another victim of someone who knew how to pick people who wouldn't fight back, who wouldn't run. And Stephanie, she did not run, not because she didn't care, but because when you've been conditioned to survive chaos, you don't recognize danger until it's already swallowed you whole. So when people go through Jeremiah in her face years later as if she needs to be reminded of what she lived through, you're not doing justice, you're not being fair, you're being very, very cruel, and you're punishing someone for a chapter of their life that they did not write but are still forced to read aloud every time the internet needs to be a villain. And that's what makes it so much harder, because she's not out here defending Jeremiah, she's not excusing what he did, she's begging people to stop connecting her to his crimes, because no matter how far she runs, his name still follows hers like a stain that she can't scrub out. And for a lot of survivors, that is literally the worst part. Not just the trauma itself, but how the world keeps reopening the wound over and over and then blames you for bleeding. Stephanie Jenkins, she was a victim then, and she's still being treated like one now. Maybe not by the same people, but the effect is still the same. Every time his name is thrown at her, it says you should have known better, as if knowing better would have been enough, as if being young and hurt and human makes you complicit in someone else's crime. It doesn't. So no, we don't need to hold Stephanie accountable accountable for Jeremiah, we need to hold space for what she went through. We need to stop weaponizing her past against her and start acknowledging what it actually was. And it was a young woman manipulated into something horrifying, who has spent years trying to rebuild herself while the internet tears her down for ever being in that situation. You can feel bad for her and still be furious, because she is both. She is a woman who was manipulated and a mother whose choices are harming her kids. She is a victim who has turned around and become the person that her children may need one day to recover from. And that's the hardest part to say out loud. There is still a small chance that this story could end differently, but only if Stephanie just stops chasing love in the form of chaos. Only if she gets out of survival mode long enough to actually heal. That means real therapy, real support, real consequences, and a real break from the people who keep dragging her back into this mess, including Drew. Because otherwise, her kids will grow up and they'll remember every motel, every fight, every tearful live stream, and maybe one day they will sit down with someone like Alicia May and tell their side. And it won't be pretty. I came across a video on TikTok recently that someone that genuinely stopped me in my track. So basically it was about one of the resilient Jenkins' daughter, and she was celebrating her birthday. At first, it seemed like a sweet moment, a regular birthday celebration, but then someone zoomed in on the card she had written for herself, or maybe to herself, I don't even know. And that's when it just hit differently, because in her handwriting, the little girl expressed how she often feels left out or alone in her family on her birthday, and no one, especially a child, should ever have to put those words or those kind of feelings into words, especially not on a day that is supposedly to be all about love and celebration. It was a very sad and heartbreaking situation, because kids don't usually say stuff like that unless it's been sitting on their chest for a while. That kind of loneliness doesn't come out of nowhere. It literally builds up, and for her to be that young and already feeling like an outsider in her own home, that says more than any video ever would.
So Stephanie and Drew from the Resilient Jenkins have let something slip through their videos once again. And this time it is devastating, because it is about their daughter and some expressions and emotions that she is writing down on a little notepad on their other daughter's birthday. As we all know, Drew has a secondary account that he posts on, and it was their daughter's birthday, and he was making some burgers. And when he brought his burger over to Stephanie's other daughter, you see two notes kind of lying on her lap that she sets down when he hands her the plate. One is an actual written note, and the other is a photo. So one of them is this photo, and people are seeing two children playing. It kind of looks like outside. And at the bottom, people are speculating that it could be a child crying, because it looks like it's got big teardrops. This is just what people are looking and observing from this photo. But it really goes hand in hand with what she was writing, so I don't think people are too far off. The little girl has a note written, and it says, "I am sorry, but I hate your birthday. I feel," and the last two words are a little hard to read, but "so left out" or "so alone." To me, I think it looks like "I feel left out." But this is what she has written. And if you can't see why this is a big deal, and this is what I would ask you to think about. Children in situations like the Resilient Jenkins children, children who are getting shuffled from place to place, lack stability, are likely lacking emotional safety during this time. Because she wrote this privately, that also screams a really big red flag. It doesn't mean that she didn't vocalize this, but oftentimes journaling is kind of a last resort where you're writing it down because your feelings and that safety behind that emotion is not being met. So the fact that she did decide to write this down in a letter seems like she's screaming for just someone to listen, even if it's just down on paper. Now, I know a lot of people might say, "Oh, well, kids get jealous of their siblings' birthdays all the time." And I would argue you're right. They do. Human nature, your child is likely going to be a little bit jealous of their sibling's birthday. They might be getting gifts, they might be getting presents, and usually they will vocalize those out loud. They might act a little jealous or a little pouty, but oftentimes they're not going to sit down and write it down in a note along with a picture that they're drawing as well. Next thing I want to note is they are likely experiencing chronic emotional deprivation. What this means is they're lacking privacy. They're lacking one-on-one time. They're lacking any sense of self. This could also mean that they're feeling overwhelmed by the chaos, which I know a lot of us can speculate is happening in that motel. And this could also mean there is favoritism happening within this home, which again, many people speculate is happening. Now, reading the note, the fact that she starts out with "I'm sorry" says that she's extremely conflicted with these feelings. She knows that it's not right to feel sad or upset that it's her sister's birthday, but she can't suppress those feelings any further. It's just further proof that what these children are going through is affecting them, which is something that I, along with others who speak about this family, have said since day one. Stephanie likes to put on that her children are totally fine, safe, and okay. And this outpour, this cry for attention, this cry for help, this is exactly the stuff that people are trying to talk about and trying to bring awareness to. The children are not happy in this situation. And it doesn't matter how many times Stephanie tells herself they aren't. I, for one, am just praying for these kids. I really do hope that Stephanie and Drew can find it in them to give these children more stability, because they are crying for help and their needs are not being met.
So now let's talk about the resident Jenkins financial empire, and here I'm going to speak about how they monetize poverty at the expense of children. So the story of Stephanie and Drew Jenkins, better known as the resilient Jenkins, isn't just uncomfortable to watch, it's very disturbing, and not in a messy family drama way, in a why does this feel like child exploitation dressed up as content creation kind of way. From the outside, they look like a struggling family sharing their hardships with the internet, trying to survive poverty and raising a bunch of kids in impossible conditions. When you start looking at the numbers, the patterns, the choices, it stops looking like survival and it starts looking like strategy, and it starts looking like a really messed up strategy, because according to multiple sources, this isn't just a broke family doing what they can. This is a family that possibly is making tens of thousands of dollars every single month of content that shows their kids sleeping on floors, being evicted, and living in cramped, unstable places, and yet somehow they are still living like they have no money. TikTok pays anywhere from 40 cents to $1 per 1,000 views through their creator rewards program. Now multiply that by the 10 to 50 billion views that the Jenkins regularly get, and you're looking at a potentially monthly income between 4,000 and 15,000 every month. I said that already. In fact, some estimates suggest that they're bringing in over 15k a month just from TikTok. Yeah, just from TikTok. And we're not counting their Amazon wish list, the Cash App donations, the GoFundMe. She even has a subscription that people pay $5 a month. And she's like, you know what, I can increase it, but I'm not going to increase it because I know times are hard. Thank you so much, Stephanie. Thank you that we get to watch your content for £5. Thank you, our Lord and Savior. I appreciate. And that's... And when you put things into perspective, that's 11 times more than the poverty line for a family of 7. That kind of money can get you a 3-bedroom rental in most US cities easily. You can even live in California with that kind of money that you're making monthly. And they're still in a motel. They're still crowding into single rooms, still posting contents where their kids are visibly uncomfortable, they're tired and living in chaos. At some point, it stopped looking like hardship and it will start looking like performance. And not only will it start looking like performance, it will start looking like poverty that's been manufactured by these people. And now they're building a brand based off of struggle. And you know what? It works, but very soon people will get tired. I promise you that, okay?
So our favorite creators got paid last night. And by the way, I was 8 million views off for their monthly views. Last month they got 58 million views instead of 50, so that adds another $2,000 or $3,000 depending on the qualified views. And also she gets subscription money, which I think she's got like over 100 subscribers for. Like, she says that she could up her price for subscribers, but she's not going to, because she knows that you're also scarce for money, so she's not going to do that to you. Oh my God, Stephanie, you're so kind and so gracious. Thank you so much for thinking for the rest of us, because obviously you do understand that we're in the similar position as you. Yeah, well, you can't even get 100 followers on your account to even begin to have TikTok Shop affiliate. Stephanie Jenkins and Drew Jenkins can have 58 million views every single month, make $12,000 to $15,000 a month, and not have a home. Because she's beneath a trailer. She's not going to do that to her kids. She said, a trailer? I'm too good for a trailer. But you are now in your 3rd hotel or motel. And by the way, whoever keeps calling CPS, knock it off. CPS is going to do nothing. If not, just actually stop looking in this family when something serious actually happens. These people make $15,000 a month consistently and have for months on end. No CPS is going to take these children away. And Oregon is a state of very many legal things. They're not even caring about that. The only thing that would ever happen is that one of these children get really, really hurt, lack of to do supervision. And I don't want to even put that out in the air, because I actually do consider Stephanie to be a diligent and very vigilant parent. However, I think she's uneducated and insecure and is picked a man over her children. That I believe for sure. But you don't have to feel bad about her money wise. She's made 15 grand in less than 24 hours. She's got money to do everything you need to do. You don't have money to do shit. But she's got money. So you don't have to worry about finances with those. Continue to give them the views.
The most chaotic thing is that the more the views that the video gets, the worse the situation seems and the more sympathy rolls in. Every time there's a new eviction, a new cramped living situation, a new video of one of the kids looking sad or overwhelmed, it goes viral. People comment, people donate, people share, and that engagement turns into cash. It's a content loop that only works if the family stays in crisis. The videos that hit hardest and bring in the most money are the ones that showed the kids when they're in distress. Kids curled up on the floor trying to sleep with no space. Kids asking questions that are too grown for their age. Kids being filmed in moments that should be private. These are not like your typical parenting vlogs. These are like poverty performances where the children's pain is a product, and it's not just like, let's say, one-off videos. It's like full-blown business model. Okay, what do we have to post today because we need this video to go viral? They post wish list links, they take donations, they share sub stories, but at the same time they're racking up millions of views. That means that they are getting money from both sides, from the platform themselves and from viewers who genuinely believe that they are helping a struggling family. And here is the thing, struggling families don't choose to stay in motels when they can afford better. They don't keep documenting their kids' lowest moments if there is any other option. They don't make their living off trauma unless the trauma is more profitable than the alternative. And once you realize that, it's very hard to unsee it. Let's talk about the kids. These kids are not actors. They don't have set hours or breaks or contracts. They can't opt out. Their entire lives are being filmed. Their messy bedrooms, their breakdowns, the evictions, the hospital visit, the emotional moments. There is no off switch. Every part of their childhood is content now, and that does something to a child. Studies have shown that kids raised in family vlogging households are more likely to experience emotional stress, blood boundaries, and long-term mental health issues. But this isn't just family vlogging. This is vlogging rooted in constant instability. The kids are growing up believing that this is normal, that being filmed in a motel crying over cramped beds and chaos is just part of their life. And the worst part is the internet watches it happen like it's a show, not real life. And then there's a safety issue. The more visible that these kids are online, the more they're exposed to the worst part of the internet. Comment sections on family content are notorious for attracting predators. There are countless examples of people time-stamping, screenshotting, or saving content that features children in vulnerable situations. It is so freaking sick, and it's happening while their parents just keep uploading. People like to compare this to child acting on reality TV, but even those kids, they have some protections. There are rules around working hours, how they are paid, and what can be shown. But social media kids, they get none of that. No laws, no regulation, no guaranteed income, just a camera, a struggling family, and an algorithm that rewards suffering. So what happens next? That depends on who you ask. The Jenkins family has on paper enough money to live comfortably. They could afford a home, they could afford beds, food security, privacy, but they keep choosing visibility over stability. And maybe at first that choice came from desperation. Maybe the content helped them get back on their feet. But at this point, with this level of income, it looks less like survival and more like strategy. A strategy where struggle sells, where children becomes the brand, and where the financial growth depends on never actually getting better. And honestly, it's not just them, it's the system. Platforms reward high engagement, long watch times, emotional content, and nothing hits all three like a crying child in a motel room. There's even a video that I watched where she was sitting outside and then like she was holding on to the baby and then the girl came and was like, "Can I sit with you? Don't worry, I'll not get in your video."
What's up, E? Can I hang out with you for a little? Promise I won't be in the video. It's not about that. If I'm just gonna sit here and conversate with you, then I'm gonna have to just turn it back off. You can still talk to your video. It's not about that, E. You and your sister need to go find something to do. Go play or go back inside. What's up, baby girl? You done making videos yet? Not quite yet. Look, her hair's getting pretty long. Her hair's growing faster than Lila's. That's cool. She looks a ton like you. At least can you continue your videos? It's funny how you guys don't ever care that I'm doing something with my phone except when it's on live. You continue the video, but can we stay here with you? Nope, I'll go ahead and turn it off. What? Yep. Why? Because I don't generally have you guys on the live like that. I'm gonna go, okay? I'll talk to you guys later.
Yeah, literally. So sad that a child has to beg the mom for attention. It's so sad, honestly. People, they keep watching, they keep sharing, they keep donating, but you know what? You're creating a cycle, and the cycle continues. Even if the parents woke up tomorrow and wanted out, the pressure to maintain the content, that kind of content, would be very overwhelming, because once your audience associates you with struggle, healing becomes bad for business, and that is the most heartbreaking part. This isn't a story about a poor family trying to make ends meet. This is a story about what happens when a platform pays you to stay broken, when your kids' pain keeps the light on, when privacy becomes a luxury that you cannot afford. And unless there are real laws put in place to protect kids like this, laws that hold parents accountable and platforms responsible, we'll keep seeing some families follow the same path. Struggle, post, and repeat. So now let's get to my final thoughts. I have been filming this for so long that my makeup is wearing off, my lip liner is gone, my lip gloss is gone. I'm looking at myself in the viewfinder, I'm like, Jewel, hope your steez is still there, okay? But anyways, final thoughts. The story of the resilient Jenkins is a lot, honestly. There is no simple way to sum it up because it is layered. It started off as this picture of a tight-knit family trying to push through poverty, showing the world how they were surviving with next to nothing. But as time went on, it became clear that what we were watching wasn't just resilience, it was something messier, something harder to watch, because behind the scenes, or honestly right in front of us, were some really serious red flags. The way the kids' privacy were thrown out the window, the financial decisions that didn't make sense, the fact that instead of working towards real solutions, Stephanie and Drew, they leaned harder and harder into social media and sympathy from strangers. It wasn't like they weren't trying to fix things anymore. They were trying to go viral off of how broken things look. And at a certain point, it started to feel like they cared more about views and going live on TikTok than about getting their kids stable housing or consistent routine. I noticed something. Whenever someone offered like real advice, stuff that could actually help, the Jenkins, they will brush it off as hate. But not some of it, they are like people saying, hey, this is not okay, your kids, they do deserve better, and they weren't wrong. One of the biggest takeaways is how little say that the kids had in any of this. These children didn't ask to be part of a public internet brand. They didn't agree to have their worst days recorded or shared or picked apart by strangers. They didn't consent to being used as content, and now they have to grow up with that digital trail. All those posts and comments and videos about their lives that follow them forever is really a sad reminder that kids in family vlogs don't have the power to protect their own privacy, but they are the ones who pay the most price when it's gone. And that's not just about this one family. What happened with the Jenkins brings up a much bigger question. Should parents be allowed to turn their children into content like this without no rules or like without protection, because in some countries they're already talking about passing laws to treat kids in vlogs like child actors and giving them rights, giving them boundaries, even giving them a cut of the earnings. And honestly, the Jenkins story makes a strong case for why this needs to happen, because when there is no oversight, this is what it can spiral into. Watching all of this unfold just brings up two feelings at once, and it brings up the feelings of anger and heartbreak. You get mad seeing the same decision over and over again, yeah, and you're watching the parents ignore help, chase clouds, and drag their kids into it. But it's also just sad because these kids didn't get to grow up in peace. They grew up under a camera lens, dealing with adult problems, moving from place to place and hoping that someone somewhere would help. If there is one twisted thing that came out of all of this, is that people did start stepping in, okay? Donations came in, the cats, they were rescued. More eyes meant more pressure on the system. Maybe without TikTok, those kids would have stayed sleeping on the kitchen floor or maybe even worse. But still, things are far from fixed. As of now, Drew is still in trouble over unpaid child support. Stephanie might lose custody. Honestly, they're still technically homeless. Yeah, there's even a video I saw of them like staying close to the dumpster, and then she was speaking to Drew and telling Drew of how like she wants the best for the kids, blah blah blah. And the thing is, they're not even slowing down. Instead of slowing down, she's still posting. People online are like already saying that she'll probably homeschool the kids, not because it's best for them, but to avoid teachers and mandated reporters. And it's like the internet is the only thing keeping the whole setup going, and everyone knows it, including her. This whole situation is like a perfect storm. It's what happens when poverty, online fame, fractured family dynamics, and a total lack of boundaries all crash into each other all at once. They call themselves resilient, but that word doesn't feel right anymore. Resilience shouldn't mean growing through struggles, overcoming hard things and getting better, but in their case, it often felt more like they were enduring the consequences of their own choices, while the kids were the ones who suffered for it. If there's anything good that came out of this, is that people are finally talking about the rights of the kids, about when sharing becomes exploitation, and about when the internet can reward the worst behavior if it gets enough clicks. Maybe, just maybe, this mess will, make someone else just stop and think before they turn their kids into content. And hopefully, just hopefully, the kids in this story will get a chance to grow up in peace, whether that's with their parents or somewhere safer, because after everything, that's what matters most. Not the views, not the followers, just the kids getting the stability and the care that they've needed all along. So guys, that brings us to the end of this video. Thank you so much for stopping by. If you enjoyed this content, kindly like, share, subscribe if you care. I really do love and appreciate each and every one of you for helping and for sharing this video. Thank you guys so much. I have recorded this for almost 2 hours, like 1 hour 40 minutes and counting, and thank you so much. I really do appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you. Okay, if you want to see more of me, I have other videos where you can watch, and secondly, you can like, share, subscribe if you care, and I'm going to see you next time. Bye.